We are tonight's entertainment.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Excellent!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Movie Mania podcast, where we talk films past, present, and future. I'm Sherman Trey White of Podcast Media, and joining me are the men, the myths, the legend. Did you find them? Because they will! Trilbee and Bandit! Do-do-do-do!
Hello! We're all here.
Hello, everybody. This should be a fun one.
Oh, boy. Yeah. See the comments now. Oh, yeah, so it's good to be back, guys.
Yeah.
Hey, good to have you back.
Yeah,
Good.
it's nice to have you on the show, Trilbee. I mean, this is probably all said last week. I don't know, I'm not done with the podcast yet for last week's, but yeah, I'm sure. It's wonderful. Look, I've had a very busy week.
There were a lot of people asking where you were.
There were.
There were a lot of people like right when Trilbee posted, when you posted that you were going to be joining the podcast, the first response, I think first comment on there was, wait, will Trey still be on the show? And I sent him a screenshot of Jeremy Johnson a thumbs up, and the guy went, aw. I was like, it's like when Ben Affleck read that comment, and when he was cast as Batman, it was like, no! And he's had to kind of stop reading it. Yeah.
I did enjoy it when I uploaded the podcast to YouTube. I think the third comment came in, it's like, I've only listened to 5 minutes, but I already don't like this other guy with Bandit. And I was like, there we go. Welcome, Trilbee, to the show.
Oh,
that's amazing.
I got my ceremonial flogging.
Bandit, you realize they will only be pleased if you get Mr. Sunday movies. That's the only way they'll all be pleased. No, but
that's just the internet, but it's fine. That's cool. We love all our listeners, all of them. Even the ones who don't like us, you know. So let's go out and embrace them. Oh no, I've been shot. Sorry, I was watching House of Cards last night. Oh, that's
we're gonna get to that end. Spoilers. Okay, how have you been, Trilbee? How you been?
Ridiculously busy.
He's been making actual movies.
Well, listen,
yes.
he's out of school, isn't he? All right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm in the school. That is life. So actually, me and my girlfriend have been sorting out somewhere to live this past week. We had some flat viewings. We've been trying to get this place secured. I'm going to have hopefully a recording office in this new place, which should be awesome. But we don't find out if we've got it until tomorrow. So hopefully that works out.
Yeah, awesome. Life. Wonderful. Bandit, how have you been?
I've been good. I've been very good.
Yeah, I had a kind of a hectic / bingey weekend because House of Cards came back on Friday, and I had an orchestra competition on Friday, so I got home, crashed on my couch until 11 o'clock the next morning, and did nothing but watch House of Cards and switch to chunks of Man of Steel, and then back to House of Cards. And then Sunday's chore day, so I did my chores, which is why I was a little late to record today. And then I just, tried what House of Cards kept my very busy today. It's a very good season, but we'll get to that later. Guys,
yeah,
let's get into
a little bit slow, for say the first 2 episodes, because I was like, what was Trey talking about? It's good, and then bang, literally,
it picks up in a certain way. Yeah, I was really into it. Guys, you want to get into the movie news?
Yes, let's get to the movie.
Yeah, let's do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. Cannonball!
All right, so the movie news. Okay, so I want to touch on some stuff that I'm almost certain we didn't cover last week. From what I've listened to so far, some of the news that dropped last week. Did you guys talk about Pacific Rim getting a new director?
No. I think we briefly mentioned it. It was an offhand comment.
Yeah, Stephen DeKnight will be directing the Pacific Rim sequel. Who is the showrunner for Daredevil last season, the first season of Daredevil. So what do you think about that, Trilbee?
As someone who loves Pacific Rim, it was my movie of 2013.
Shame. Shame.
It was your popcorn flick.
It was just a superb, well-rounded, incredibly well-thought-out blockbuster. I'm not even being ironic.
Oh, what? Really?
It's such a good. It's so well thought out. It's a great metaphor for people coming together to combat natural disasters. And I think it's just it's more thought out than you give it credit for. I think it's got an incredibly well fleshed out, detailed world. I'm gutted that Guillermo del Toro was not coming back to direct, but if he's producing and if he has selected Stephen DeKnight to be the director, I do have some faith in that decision, and I think that he may actually pull it off.
Wow. Okay.
As coming from someone who was not a big fan of Pacific Rim, I think
I was not a fan of it until Godzilla 2014 came out, and then I was like,
shut up.
Actually, Pacific Rim was good fun.
It could have been worse.
All right, listen, look, the Pacific Rim, it's fun, but fun doesn't equal quality in my opinion. So I think, Guillermo del Toro for me hasn't made a really great movie in quite some time. Maybe Pan's Labyrinth, maybe Hellboy 2, I don't know. I think Stephen DeKnight
maybe Hellboy 2.
I mean, Hellboy 2, it has some flaws for me. I think it goes on a little too long. I think Stephen DeKnight's he was a great writer for Daredevil. He clearly was able to hurt that show in the right direction after Drew Goddard left to do the failed Sinister Six project. I think he was able to add some humanity to a character that we hadn't seen added humanity to in a while, at least in the film or television world. So hopefully he can add some more depth that was needed to Pacific Rim, because when it wasn't just the cool robot monster fighting, it was just kind of like generic, boring human characters that I wasn't interested in, except Ron Perlman. So, yeah.
Sure. I'm all sad now.
Okay. Sorry, Trilbee.
Just crushing your joy in that film.
For the watch. She just starts stabbing it in the chat.
Trilbee goes up to a side and says Pacific Rim for the watch.
For the watch.
But in terms of movies. In terms of movies in which a monster gets hit with a giant boat, I don't think it's the best movie, but it is in the top one.
Listen. Hey, a clever comment, by the way. Okay, are we good here?
Yep.
All right, let's get to the big kind of issue that dropped this week. Caused actually a lot more controversy than I thought it would, and even though people are saying that it's sexist based, it shouldn't be sexist based, and that was the disappointment that was the Ghostbusters trailer.
Yeah.
Bandit, why don't you give us your thoughts first?
Well, as someone for me, Ghostbusters is like a 30-year-old franchise, and I was never really a huge fan of it in the first place. So for someone like me, it's a little bit hard to get really angry about the trailer, but I was just so surprised at the amount of backlash, because even by internet standards, that's really unusual for a trailer to get as many dislikes as it did. And even to the point where a bit after I put out my video on YouTube, Sony on its official, because movie studios have like YouTube channels of their own that they put the trailers out on, they actually started deleting all the negative comments. And I did actually well, I did actually get a screenshot before they managed to delete it of one guy who said, just give me a sec, I'll find it.
Sue for copyright by Sony. Sorry.
This guy, he says, you deleted, he must be some kind of tech guy. He says, you deleted my comment, so I used a site to find the dates of the bot accounts that were used and when they were created. They were created on March 3rd/4th. Remember, the trailer came out on March 3rd. And he said, and they ended one sentence, example, like the words they're looking for, OMG, this looks terrible, this looks bad, hate, blah, blah, blah. So they sent out bot robots to go and find and delete all the negative comments on YouTube. That's really... Sony, even by your standards, that's desperate. Yeah. Okay?
Okay, there's this negative connotation around the trailer, and I think, can we get this out of the way real quick? If we don't like the trailer, it's not because it's about women. Can we get that out of the way now before people start attacking us?
I think having women actually makes it more interesting.
Thank you. Who's been the one defending Rey from The Force Awakens for the last 3 months? Yeah. I'm just saying. Like, Mad Max Fury Road's one of your all-time favorite movies, Bandit. I mean, we're clearly all in support of women here, so let's get that out of the way. But that, that being said, trademark. The trailer sucks. It's not funny. The pacing's all off. Nothing about this sticks. The effects look pretty bad. Slimer looks terrible. I mean, just everything about this trailer, with the exception of maybe Kate McKinnon, who was the kind of sassy blonde lady. she was like the one standout moment for this trailer, and she's in like for what 4 frames. Even the joke they tried doing her with the wig didn't stand out for me. But I'm not a fan of this trailer. Trilbee?
Yes, it's true. These Ghostbusters have no dicks. I think when it comes to the trailer itself, I don't think it flat out bombed. It's not the worst trailer I've seen in recent memory, but nothing really stood out, and it got off on a sour note by saying 30 years ago, 4 scientists saved New York. But this isn't a sequel, it's a straight up reboot. Those events didn't happen, so it just confuses people. And then with the exception of Kate McKinnon, none of the other Ghostbusters have a defined personality. Melissa McCarthy just seems really oddly restrained and really boring. Kristen Wiig, who is a fierce comedic and dramatic presence when she wants to be, has no personality outside of being a scientist. And what's her name? I forget, but the black one.
Black one.
She's
one.
basically that is her personality, black and street smart. She's like, oh hell no.
Yeah,
I'm a black person. That's come on, guys.
I have heard people shouting racism as well. Because they're like, how come the only non-scientist is a black lady? And it's like, granted, the black guy in the original Ghostbusters, he wasn't a scientist either. But they did make it clear in the movie that they just needed an extra set of hands to help them. But whereas in this one, she walks in, she's like, I know I'm not as smart as all of you, but I'm street smart. And it's like, So I can see where that's coming from a little bit.
The plot of the movie apparently is that she's there. She sees the apparition happen, so it's not just because she's street smart. So I guess they bring her into the plot that way. They don't just go find a black person because they need a black person.
Actually, you do see her in a subway, and a ghost is like in front of her. So yeah.
From what I've heard in interviews, she's actually like an educated historian in the context of the movie. But why is that not in the trailer? Yeah. Like she's meant to be like a proper like PhD historian or something. I think I've heard that somewhere, and I think that really would have.
Why is she working at a subway or not in an actual subway?
Because it's hard for a black woman to get a job in New York. I know. I speak from experience.
You wouldn't understand.
That's for another time. But, check your privilege.
Well, as a Chinese man, I should understand what it's like to be a black woman. As a Chinese man myself.
But Trilbee, you mentioned before about it's confusing with the 30 years later, but then they don't seem to acknowledge the other Ghostbusters in the trailer. Well, to make it even more confusing, I went to IMDb, and according to IMDb, Bill Murray's in this, Sigourney Weaver's in this, and even Dan Aykroyd is in this.
But they're all playing separate parts. They're all they're doing separate cameos. Like that leaked a while ago is that they're all playing different individual cameos. They're not playing their original roles. That's what's...
Maybe they're playing ghosts or something. I don't know.
I just know that they're not playing the original scientists or characters.
In an interview years ago, Bill Murray said that he'd only do a Ghostbusters 3 if he could be a ghost. So it wouldn't surprise me if he was one. But for the trailer, like Sony... I think it's safe to say that Sony make products more than they make movies. Like that doesn't say that the products they make can be bad.
You saw that Times Square scene. Like the first thing I saw was that Sony thing in the background. Like nice, real nice. Sony's nice and bright. Oh man,
it's funny. I didn't realize that product placement. Maybe that's why I like Man of Steel.
But they,
by the way, they IHOP recently. I hear it's really good.
I had it after I went to Sears. Really great store that Sears is.
Oh, Sears? Did you say Sears?
Yeah, well, I had to stop by gas at 7-Eleven, but then I went to Sears, and then after I had some IHOP afterwards. Met some nice people there. Yeah, it was...
I'm going to drive there in my Mercedes right now.
Sorry, Drew, please
continue. I did a write-up on the trailer on my website, and I noticed that there's a line where Kristen Wiig says, "We may be the only ones who can stop them." And if you every single Sony blockbuster trailer has that line. Everyone says we're the only ones who can do this, or I'm the only one who can stop them. And I think it's clear that Sony trailers follow a very distinct formula, and I think that formula does not work for Ghostbusters because it means so many different things to so many different people. People growing up may consider it a horror, some people may consider it a comedy, some may consider it an action film, and the fact that this trailer didn't hit any of those beats effectively is what I think caused this backlash.
Do we know who wrote this movie? Was it Paul Feig or was it like Kurtzman and Orsi or those guys or any of those generic Sony writers? Do we know who wrote this movie?
I think it was Paul Feig. Paul Feig and Katie Dippold.
Okay, all right. Do we know?
Isn't Dan Aykroyd's name in the credit there as a story writer, or it's something suspicious that says Dan Aykroyd under writers, but then it has in brackets based off story by or something. So.
Well, did Dan Aykroyd write the original Ghostbusters? He probably had a writing.
Yeah. So whether that means because they're stealing stuff from the original, or whether it means that he at one point did have a Ghostbusters 3 and they adapted that. But I think
it's the same way George Lucas got
to try to say that Dan Aykroyd's in
no,
the creative team.
I think it was the same. It was the same way that they gave George Lucas credit for a movie like Force Awakens. It's like story characters by George Lucas, because you have to give credit to where credit's due. He did start the whole thing, and yeah, Dan Aykroyd did write the original Ghostbusters, so that's where they get it. I guess that's where. Yeah. But
Katie Dippold, she works on Parks and Recreations, and she also wrote The Heat, which has Melissa McCarthy in it and was directed by Paul Feig. So she's experienced with this team.
But I think The Heat is Paul Feig's weakest movie, in my opinion. I loved Spy. I had a great time with Spy, and I also had a great time with
Spy was great.
Yeah, I've heard good things about Spy.
Spy's like the action in Spy, which is why I'm still excited for this movie, because the action in Spy, it was one of my favorite films of last year. But Spy had some of the best action I've seen. In terms of last year, the way they had comedy action without it being slapstick. There's a scene where Melissa McCarthy fights this assassin lady, but it's she's fighting with a frying pan. This lady's trying to shank her, but it's very well choreographed. There's a great chase scene with the moped or whatever. It was wonderful. It was very well put together.
Do you guys think it's possible though? Because I mean, sure, the trailer wasn't great, but the amount of backlash was so intense. Do you think people are just sick of this kind of thing happening? Do you think people have just had enough of these kind of remakes and? Do you think people just reached their breaking point?
I think it's a matter of people need to, because Ghostbusters, it's not a movie that you immediately think of like name a classic. The first thing people don't go to is Ghostbusters, but whenever you bring up the movie Ghostbusters, people are like, oh, that's a classic. You see what I'm trying to get at here? So when someone says they're remaking Ghostbusters, there's already stipulation. So this trailer was supposed to be the one that proved to fans, no, this Ghostbusters is going to be great, because you already had some of the sexist a-holes that said, oh, this movie can't be great because it's about women, but from the get-go, you've had fans of the original movie who said this movie cannot happen. So when this trailer comes out and it's not impressive, the backlash is going to be even more exemplified.
Yeah, I think that many people were out for blood when this trailer came out, because there was, while the trailer's not great, it's not even good, there were just some comments that were just straight up sexist, straight up racist, so that sort of doesn't help the case.
Yeah. There
actually 64
was a funny
dislikes,
one I saw, but
64 dislikes on YouTube, like that's almost up there with like Rebecca Black and Justin Bieber, and 64,000 dislikes.
How many likes? I think it was 40,000 on my video. But,
yeah.
But I think that ratio has stayed the same, even though it's got more views. So,
I think it was a mistake to not feature any more Chris Hemsworth. There's just one shot of him kicking down a door, looking bored, and Chris Hemsworth can really be funny. And I I think it was a mistake to not feature at least one joke with him.
Yeah, I would have made him a ghost in the gym working out. That would have been
he's
funny.
playing the secretary, isn't he? He's playing the Annie Potts kind of role. Yeah. He's playing this, which is great that they have him as a secretary. I can just picture him.
It's funny because in the original Ghostbusters, the secretary was this really nerdy woman who ends up marrying that really nerdy man. So now that it's a hunky man, do you reckon they're going to bring in a super good-looking chick to marry him?
Oh, they might. They might have a role like that.
They paired up the nerds. Now, if the nerds are good-looking, they got to get a good-looking girl. So,
or you still get the nerdy girl.
You know who I think they should cast in that case? Jennifer Lawrence.
Who? Oh gosh.
Goodbye, Bandit.
Nope.
Goodbye.
There comes the singularity. Here. We're collapsing in on ourselves. Don't cross the streams.
Daisy Ridley as.
Should we move on to our next story?
I have some more here. Let's move on to the next story.
I noticed one that I don't know if you're going to bring up, Trey.
Okay. Go ahead.
But I was just having a look through through one of the news sites here. Oh God, I've lost it now. Please continue. I'll find it and get back to you.
Sorry. Okay. I'm sorry. I was killing my throat as you were talking. And it was taking a while. Okay. So as we know, BVS is having an R-rated cut. We've talked about this before. I really okay. Let's talk about that. You don't think that they should have an R-rated cut for the movie?
I think this is dumb. I don't think this makes sense. I don't understand why people are defending this decision, because the fact that it's coming off the heels of Deadpool makes it seem like a cash grab. The fact that they're promoting a Blu-ray cut before the actual movie itself comes out reeks of preemptive defensiveness, in that they're saying, well, if the movie sucks, then the Blu-ray version will be better. That's what it seems to me.
I think what they're trying to do here is Zack Snyder has always made, with the exception of Man of Steel, R-rated films. His action has always been kind of R-rated in that sense. You know, I don't think an R-rated cut will essentially mean more boobs or or more swearing. I think it means the action, because Watchmen has very R-rated action. 300 has very bloody action, and I think that originally I think he said he had a 3-hour cut, but he wanted to cut it back for obvious reasons. And I think in my actual news story here, Jenna Malone, who was seen on set with short red hair, as we know, so similar to the character Carrie Kelly. She has officially been cut from the entire film. That's what the news story is. That's my second story.
Which shows that this is not just an extra violent R-rated cut. This is an extended edition, and when you're doing a cinematic universe, extended editions are the death of continuity.
I don't think so. Because Force Awakens is having like 30 minutes or so of extra scenes, something like that.
Yeah, but they're not going to be sold as the definitive cut. They're going to be deleted scenes that were taken out, and then you're just going to have people confused as to whether or not, it's the extended version on Blu-ray, the actual version that is going to be canon to Justice League. I just think it's messy. And not needed.
Well, think about what about the Lord of the Rings? Those have a bajillion cuts. Does that mean that because this doesn't happen on screen? Because if this doesn't happen in theatrical cut, does this mean people aren't really confused about that? That's kind of a one big universe. I think if they cut out a scene where Carrie Kelly's talking to Bruce Wayne about Dick Grayson, and they cut that out of the movie, that'd be great though. But if they cut that out of the movie, that doesn't suddenly make the whole thing confused. If they put it back in the extended cut. That just means that there was something there. There was some seeds laid, for the expanded universe.
It depends on what they do. We'll have to wait until the Blu-ray cut comes out. But I just think that this
21 days away.
I know, but it's the fact that if the movie isn't any good, or if people don't like the movie in general, if the reviews are bad, then Warner Brothers can just say, it's this completely gutted version that we released in cinemas. No, the real version's on Blu-ray. Buy that instead. Double dip the money. It just seems, it just doesn't, if they promoted it after the movie came out, it wouldn't seem like a cynical cash grab. And I think this does come across as that. I could be proven wrong, and I want to be proven wrong. These are just the signals.
But either way, I guess it makes sense, because they need to get more incentive for people to actually buy the physical discs now. So if they can say, there's a whole bunch of extra footage, then there's reason to do it. So
okay, well, let's see. Where was I? Okay, a first review has come out of Batman v Superman, someone that saw it early, and I can't find the tweet, but it was a tweet, and so I'm just gonna put down I can remember it, and it wasn't the Reddit review, it was an actual, I forgot the reviewer's name, but it was an actual critic, and they sent him to see the movie, and we know it's real because Warner Brothers had since told him to take down the tweet since he tweeted about it, so we know it's real. And I said that for Trilbee's sake, because I know Trilbee's always skeptical about these things. In the review. Yeah, the review said that, and I quote, he said, if you loved Man of Steel, then you're going to love this movie. If you liked Man of Steel but didn't like the ending of Man of Steel, then you're probably going to like this movie more. But if you weren't a fan of Zack Snyder's style and how he did Man of Steel, you may not be a fan of this movie. But overall, it's a fairly good movie. I think it's what he said. And then I think
he also said that at the end of the movie, he said there's a moment between Batman and Superman that almost makes you want to cry. He said, but there's still plenty of stuff for fans to argue about at the end of it, which is good, because that's how I make my bread and butter.
And Wonder Woman is fearsome.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Wonder Woman is fearsome.
I'm trying that. I can't remember what the tweet was, but yeah.
I just Googled Batman v Superman Twitter review.
Yeah. Thank you, Thank you,
well, I don't know about you guys, but to me, that's really encouraging.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's the best I realistically could have hoped for, I think. Mm-hmm. That, it shows me at least, see, what I was worried about, that they hadn't learnt from some of the mistakes they made in Man of Steel, but like some of the things we've seen in the trailers, and now that gives me encouragement that they have actually learned from some of the mistakes, and they are at least going to iron out some of the problems. Even before, when you were talking about that, like stuff that's been cut from the theatrical release of the movie but is saved for the DVD, even that I think is a good thing, which we'll get into. But with Man of Steel, one of the problems is way too many subplots, way too many ideas, and they should have streamlined it more. So I'm actually really excited for the movie now.
What this tells me is that the movie's going to be, I think the movie is once again going to be very polarizing. I think that this is going to be once again, because people, which sucks because people are going, everyone's going to see this movie. Whether you liked Man of Steel, whether you didn't like Man of Steel, everyone's going to go see this movie. But people are going to go in expecting something different than Man of Steel, which I don't think they should. I think they should go in expecting a similar, it's like going into a Christopher Nolan movie and saying, I don't want to think. You know, it's like, you shouldn't, it's not what this movie is.
Do you think people will go in expecting something like really different though? I mean, based off the trailers, you still see that it fits in the same universe, though. It
definitely has a different look to it. I think there's a lot more steady shots with some of the action, and the camera's a lot more flowy. The cinematography looks more Watchmen than Man of Steel, which look, I guess, kind of like 300 to me. But you know, I don't know. It's just my thought. Let's play a game here. Sorry, Trilbee, go ahead.
Just going from your point, it feels more Zack Snyder making a movie as opposed to Zack Snyder aping Christopher Nolan trying to make a movie.
Yeah.
At least from the promotional material, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah.
Yes, he's a good director. Not the best storyteller, but a good filmmaker. Let's play a game here, guys. Yay. What do you think Batman v Superman's going to have on its Rotten Tomatoes score? What? Let's make some prediction. Rotten Tomatoes score by Sunday evening after its release. What will it have?
Well, the initial reaction will be all the fans, so I think it'll be up about 90.
Okay.
Like with the audience, and then I think with like the critics it'll probably be maybe 50, and then over time I think it will level out to like the critics will probably stay at 50, but the fan reaction will probably change and go down to like maybe 70 or something.
Well, I think the fan reaction is going to be like in the 90s. It's going to be like in the top 10 movies on IMDb before it's even come out.
We're not going to talk about IMDb.
But for Rotten Tomatoes, I'm thinking the low.
Say that again. Can you say Rotten Tomatoes? Can you say Rotten Tomatoes again?
Rotten Tomatoes. What did I say?
I love
tomatoes.
The way
you say it like tomatoes.
You say Rotten Tomatoes. I say Rotten Tomatoes.
I love the way people say it.
Tomatoes. You got to put the nasaliness in the A.
Rotten
Tomatoes. I think it will be in the low to mid 70s.
Okay.
From critics.
Well,
top critics, it will be in the 50s.
Right. Man of Steel was like 56 when it all leveled out. It was like 56 critics, like 74 audience. Yeah. I'm thinking BVS is going to end up being 68%. This random number, 68% critics. I think it's going to be about 81% audience, because I think audiences, it's going to divide the fans. It's going to definitely divide the fans. I think Zack Snyder is going to do something that's going to make people go, why would they do? I can picture Bandit nitpicking it. I can picture Trilbee going, I liked it, but I had some problems, and I can picture me loving it. So you know.
But in a way, it's okay.
Once again, I'll be the middle ground guy.
Yeah.
But in a way, it's okay that it divides the fans, because it's kind of built on that premise. It's Batman versus Superman. Okay. Part of the marketing and all that is they want the fans to go to war with each other to build the hype. So it's kind of okay if it's polarizing, but hopefully not polarizing in the same way that Man of Steel was, where they're like, is it a good movie or not?
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to get at. All right. I think that covers all my movie news here.
Yes. Well, actually, right. I've found my story. So segue is... So yeah, in terms of scores, I think it might follow a similar pattern to Star Wars The Force Awakens. Speaking of which, segue, I found this article here that caught my eye that said a guy called Derek Ruths on Wired.com just published a piece of work highlighting how eerily similar Force Awakens is to A New Hope. And he did a very novel and interesting idea. What he did was he took the two scripts, wrote down in detail all the things that happened. Oh my god! All the different characters.
You did a video on this.
I know, it sounds suspiciously similar. And then he compared them together. Now, And his results were pretty much the same as mine. Like, he didn't just copy my video, because he brings up a lot of stuff that I didn't bring up. And he doesn't give a score. Like, he says some strange stuff, though. He says, like, when looking at each character and their arc, he says Poe Dameron actually fits more into Han Solo's role from the first one than anyone else, which I guess, makes sense. He is the pilot, and he does sort of have the return at the end and kind of save everyone like Han Solo. But he says, like, now this is weird. He says Kylo Ren, he actually fits more into Obi-Wan Kenobi's story. I was like, what? What is he talking about?
I think he fits more into Anakin Skywalker than anyone.
Yeah.
I guess is where you can kind of make the Obi-Wan Kenobi connection. But I mean, what does he mean, Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Actually, I got that wrong. No, Poe Dameron.
Maybe he means old Ben Kenobi.
No, he says Poe Dameron doesn't
Shut up,
match up with
Trilbee.
Han
I
Solo.
heard that.
No, he says Luke Skywalker is the Han Solo role, which is strange, I guess. But yeah, but interesting though, because this guy's obviously done his own thing and has achieved the same result that I have. So there you go, in your face, Trey.
Bandit. Life is Bandit. Life is not Bandit. Life is not just one giant musical where you get your way. So pack up your things and let it go, okay? That's a quote from Zootopia. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I knew you were
quoting something. I was trying to figure out what it was.
Beautiful. It was a beautiful quote. So that made the movie for me.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. So
I'm so mad at you. Are we done?
Because I was reading the article, I was like, hang on a minute.
Moratorium on it.
Sounds like the video I made. Anyway, sorry. Go on, Trey. Please continue.
All right. So we had some homework. Jesus.
Homework.
Oh my god, what is happening?
You like how he just likes to ambush me, Trilbee? Like how what is he talking about? And out of nowhere he'll just drop some knowledge. Thinking I won't catch what he's trying to do here. Should I get
I feel like I need to be the mediator between you two. Whenever Terminator or Star Wars gets brought up, I've got to be the ones to push you two apart.
It's like Sam Jackson in The Hateful Eight, just trying to get me to pick up that gun, huh? Yeah, just.
Starting to see pictures now, ain't you?
Oh, it's a good movie. It's a really good movie.
So
I
good.
rewatched some of it on my device today. It's really good. Okay.
This week, each one of you has a homework assignment. You're gonna go out. You're gonna start a fight with a total stranger. You're gonna start a fight, and you're gonna lose.
Do you want to start? How about you want to start with the Oscars? Okay. So I want to briefly touch on the Oscars because you guys had a big discussion on it last week. I just wanted to touch on some of the things I thought that were kind of big. One, I loved Chris Rock as the host. I loved everything that he did. I think
I might
granted,
have to
pretty much all of his
you two now because
Okay.
Trilbee hated Chris Rock
because
No, I didn't hate him. I guess he didn't do anything for me.
Granted, all of his bits were race included, were all about the race, but I think that's what this needed. I love the Girl Scout cookies, but I think that's what it needed. This needed to be put out because this isn't what the Oscars is usually about. Honestly, I think Louis C.K. should host the Oscars because his bit on live action short was incredible, and I think he should probably host the Oscars next year. Either him or Kevin Spacey, because those
and Jacob Tremblay.
Yes, get Jacob Tremblay. Dude, he'd have a blast. Or get Seth MacFarlane again. He was great. Also, I don't think Leo should have won this year. Not because it'd be really funny if it's like, and the Oscar for Best Actor goes to Bryan Cranston Trumbo. Because it's like, but just because I don't think he gave the best performance of his career in this role. I think it was definitely Wolf of Wall Street, and I think Michael Fassbender deserved it. But that's whatever. Also, Mark Rylance, pardon my French, but what the hell was that? We recorded a podcast for it last Sunday, and you got my audible reaction when they said Best Supporting Actor went to Mark Rylance. I was very upset. Stallone, the Academy just took Stallone's chances of ever winning an Oscar ever again. This was his last shot of capping that whole thing, and the Academy just why would you? And
if there's
why
one thing we know about Stallone, he just refuses to go down. He's the unflushable turd. You can't get rid of him. So don't worry. I'm sure he'll get other opportunities to get Oscars.
I'm sure that was a compliment. Unflushable turd.
Oh,
he just won't
put
go
that in the
down.
poster. Creed. Stallone is an unflushable turd. Bandit Incorporated.
I mean that in the best possible way.
Put that the quotes. I mean that brackets. I mean that in the best possible way. Also, Star Wars should have gotten both film. I think it should have gotten film editing. I don't know. That's just me. Mad Max was great, and it's a wonderful edited movie. I think pretty much everything else deserves to go to Mad Max, but for some reason, I don't know. I just feel like they should give Force Awakens, if not editing, then score. I don't know what that really got to me. They didn't nominate John Williams. They didn't give John Williams.
Isn't that kind of cheating? Because I mean, they're using the Star Wars theme. Of course, they're.
But there were a lot of new themes in this movie. Yeah, I mean, like
not really.
There were really.
Well, they were just kind of like variations of the original themes. I mean,
granted,
they did have Rey's theme.
I was about to say, where in the original any of the scores was Rey's theme ever a thing? You know, where was there ever a March of the Resistance kind of theme? Where was Kylo Ren's theme ever a thing? You know, where was the Jedi Steps, which in my opinion is the best score on the soundtrack? Where has that ever been a part of in the entire Star Wars score? There were so many. There were like four incredibly memorable tracks.
They did have new tracks, but I don't think they were particularly memorable. The First Order's theme sounds like someone farting into a trombone. Dun 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 dun. Boom.
So you're not happy that Hateful Eight won?
Boom.
I mean, I like.
You don't get an Oscar for that.
I think Anicio, however you pronounce his name, I think he. I don't. Has he ever won before? I don't know if he's ever won before.
No, he's done like 500 films, and he got an honorary Oscar a decade ago.
Never mind then. I have to retract my statement. He probably deserved it then, because at this point, I think they probably gave it to him because they may never be able to give it to him again. So
yeah, I think he's the oldest Oscar winner ever.
How old is
one
he?
of them?
90 something? I don't know.
He's older than time itself, I think. The guy's been around.
But look, Force Awakens is always going to be remembered as like the highest grossing movie of all time, so they'll be fine. They'll be
money
fine.
doesn't equal success, though. I mean, it does, but like not quality. Because Transformers and and Avatar are both major money makers, but those are not good movies. So
I think money does make success, actually, but I know what you mean. You
know what I mean, like accolades, like actual cred for being a good movie. People are going to look back and be like, "Yes, Star Wars made a lot of money," but people are going to be like, "It's going to be you know what? I'm ending it. Never mind."
Yeah, it's interesting. I heard a study that said like when they look at like either actors who win like awards or like scientists who get the Nobel Peace Prize or whatever, it says like it does affect their lives a lot after that, because they're just generally more happy because they don't feel like they don't have that desperate energy of trying to prove themselves because they have proved themselves. So like in that regard, like the award ceremonies are good, and I'm sure J.J. Abrams probably would have liked an award. If he hasn't already won one for something, he probably already has. Has he?
I mean, I don't think he's won an Oscar. I mean, where do you think Leo should go next after this?
He should do his own Taken movie. Go around the Liam Neeson path.
Oh, okay. You think he should have I'd like him to be kind of like a big blockbuster. I was listening to movie fights today.
I listened to that too, because you're right. Now that he's won that, he can pretty much do whatever he likes. So
I haven't finished it. But I think he would be a great Donald Trump. So just a quick.
That guy in Screen Junkies, he's like, he's got to be Donald Trump. Show the graphic again of him with the funny hair. I'm like, you can't win an argument just because you have a funny graphic.
Oh,
John Roca owns that whole movie fight. I haven't finished it yet, but John Roca owns it.
Have you seen that parody sketch of Steven Spielberg doing an Obama biopic?
No.
Oh, it's so funny. He's talking about he does a serious interview saying, "Oh, I'm doing it after Lincoln. It's just natural to do Obama, but who can you play as him?" Oh, and then it was staring at me right in the face, Daniel Day-Lewis. And then they get the real life Obama to pretend he's Daniel Day-Lewis playing Obama and doing interviews.
Oh my
God.
So,
just Google Steven Spielberg Obama and just watch the sketch. You're in for a funny 5 minutes.
Is it really the real president?
Either that or Daniel Day-Lewis really is upping his game.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure it is Obama.
Wow,
I would pay a lot of money to see Daniel Day-Lewis as President Barack Obama. Because he would commit, he would Robert Downey Jr. style of commit to the role, to where he would go to sleep in his makeup, he would wake up in his makeup, he'd talk like a black man, he'd start becoming good at basketball, he would just he would commit to this role. Wow, I pay a lot of money for that.
But, you know,
And then,
Trey, you mentioned before, you were saying, what do you want to see DiCaprio in now? Now that he's got his win, he's got his Oscar, I would actually like to see him in a comedy. Because as we've covered, like in Wolf of Wall Street, he's pretty damn funny in that. Like, if you could put him in a comedy that involves him in pain for a lot of it, I think he'd have a blast doing it.
Give him a movie with the guys that did the Lego movie, like the Phil Lord and Chris Miller. Yeah. Like those guys that are probably the biggest comedy guys out there right now. Like 22 Jump Street's amazing. Like give him a movie like that. Man, he could do some great stuff. Okay. I think
that scene when he's trying to crawl to the car is just...
Oh my god.
I split my sides.
Get him on the phone!
No,
I can't understand you.
When his foot gets caught in the door and just fall. Oh my god!
She's like, "Come home." He's like, "Okay."
He's like,
"I will not die sober."
Oh my god! That movie's hilarious.
He'd be great in a comedy.
Yeah, I think that's one of my favorite movies. Okay.
Yeah, me too.
I think that's the Oscars covered, guys. Do you want to move on to any more homework? Bandit, do you want to talk a little House of Cards?
Just to clarify, I have only seen one episode of House of Cards.
Okay, we're not going to do much spoilers just because the season literally just came on like a couple of days ago, like on Friday. And you know, this is a show that does take some time to get through. It's 13 episodes of politics.
Bandit, I have been watching One Punch Man.
Oh yeah, what do you think of it?
Oh, so fun.
It is,
it's
isn't
so
it?
clever.
It's really great.
Fine, I'll watch it.
The scene with the mosquito on the balcony.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
He's using his super strength and super speed to try to swat this one mosquito, but he just can't get it.
Because I've been watching Dragon Ball Super, and I'm so disappointed in that anime, but then I watch One Punch Man, and I'm just having so much fun with it.
Yeah, yeah. Did you find the first episode confusing, though? I did, because it has like 7 different beginnings. Like, oh, there's a monster, introduce One Punch Man. Then it's like, there's another monster, introduce One Punch Man. There's another monster, introduce... I was like, okay, I know. Can we just get on with it? Yeah.
It's not so much Monster of the Week, it is Monster of the Scene. So many weird original designs. I ate too many crabs, so I became Crab Man. So what is this? I love souping up cars, so I became a car.
But it gets better and better and better as it goes on, and especially because they introduce so many different side characters. So even though you know One Punch Man is always going to win, there's tension because like when Cyborg's fighting, and like if One Punch Man he's like cycling through the city trying to get there on time. So like there's one episode where it's just all these different guys trying to go up against this one villain who's just killing them all, while One Punch Man is getting there, and it's tension because you're like, when is he going to get there? And when he does. Like, he realizes everyone's going to say, oh, this guy just beat the villain in one go, and that will kind of undermine the sacrifice of everyone who came before it. So he, he pretends like, oh, they softened him up. I managed to just kill him in one hit. Oh, lucky me. Because he doesn't want to take away from all the stuff that everyone did before him. So I was like, oh, things like that's cool. Yeah.
It's something I will watch again if it gets an English language dub. Because I just want to know, how do you voice a character like One Punch Man? What type of voice do you give him?
I think it'd be wrong to give him an English... have him speak in English. It just... Knowing about it just seems wrong. Especially when he has his spaz outs. Whenever anyone mentions that he's bald, he's like... Wah! And he just turns into this weird 2D cartoon.
Nothing funnier than an Australian man trying to sound Japanese. That's amazing. You could do that again, please. That just made my day.
You almost sound Irish. Okay, now that we've had that tangent.
Sure. Oh, this podcast is nothing but a series of tangents. I was just jawing and doodling on my hand while you guys were having a little nice fest about One Punch Man.
Sure.
I have a right on the podcast.
Because my homework assignment for this week was watching the Lego movie. Actually, it was a week before last, but we couldn't talk about it because of the Oscars. But I think you gave me the homework assignment, Trey, and I watched it. It was really awesome. Okay. Everything was off. Sorry.
Here's what's going to happen here, because I have to go do something very quickly. I will be right back. Yep. You talk the Lego movie. I'm going to go do that, and then we'll come back and talk a little House of Cards. Can that work?
Sure. Yeah.
I'll be back.
Do that.
All right.
Okay,
so the Lego movie, really, really enjoyed it. I could totally get why it was so popular at the time, but I can see, because Trey mentioned last week, since it's been so long that it's come out that me watching it, I won't be part of all the hype around it. So I can definitely see how the hype did help to elevate it to the next sort of upper level. But yeah, it was really great. I really liked it. And I can see it really, like, it totally hit that sweet spot between the nostalgia that literally everyone has from being a kid playing with Lego, but also, you know, the whole thing of, like, do you follow the instructions to build it or do you build your own? And yeah, it was great. I think it was something that everyone can relate to, but I was really surprised to see so much Deadpool-style meta humor in it.
Yeah.
Like, he's talking to his girlfriend, she's like, blah, 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 backstory, blah, blah, blah.
I'm so awesome, blah, blah.
Blah, 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 set up for future turns.
It's one of those films where I watched it the first time and really, really liked it, but I had a few issues. But then when I watched it again, it got better and better. It rewarded repeat viewings. It had so much to it and was so deep and so nuanced that I just got so much out of it on repeat viewings, and it keeps getting better. And I love the ending and the climax that it has and the confrontation. I won't spoil it for those who haven't seen it, but the confrontation between Emmett and President Business, that final confrontation is so perfect. And it doesn't boil down to a huge action scene. It's just a really well-written and well-performed scene.
Yeah.
So I just loved it.
I was a little bit worried at the beginning where the Morgan Freeman Lego guy, he's like, wait, there is a prophecy of a chosen one will come, and I was like, oh god, not another chosen one story. And then the Will Ferrell character is like, oh, so there's a chosen one now, great. I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. And then at the end,
I know that sounds
Morgan
like a
Freeman,
cat poster.
Yeah.
But it's true.
I know it sounds like a cat poster, but it's true. And yeah, it is true. It is a cat poster. But yeah, and I like the bit at the end where Morgan Freeman's like, yeah, I just made it up. It's not really, anyone can be the chosen one. And see, I love
he's
that.
He's just a head on the floor, and then he just dies.
I have to tell you something really important. Then he dies. I love
how Superman and Green Lantern have like a hate relationship with each other.
Yeah.
And Superman's like, oh, this can't get any worse. And he's sat next to Green Lantern. Oh, hey, buddy. Hey, neighbor. Oh, God, give me some kryptonite. And because Superman is played by Channing Tatum and Green Lantern is played by Jonah Hill. So it's the 22 Jump Street pairing again.
Oh, right. I didn't realize that.
There's some just great hidden moments.
That's great. So, yeah, I overall really love the Lego movie. Now, you had some homework you wanted to talk about, Trilbee, yeah?
Yeah, I saw Hail Caesar, speaking of Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill.
Yeah, Trey talked about that a few weeks ago, so I'd be interested if your experience was the same as his.
I don't remember what he said. Maybe you can fill me in, but for Hail Caesar...
He basically said it was bad, so...
Oh, okay. I'm not a big fan of the Coen brothers. Like, I don't think they're bad filmmakers. Their dramatic films don't do anything for me. It's in their comedy where I think they really hit bullseye. Like, Burn After Reading is one of my favourite films of theirs, and Hail Caesar kind of hit that sweet spot for me. It was just a really funny and really well done homage to Golden Age Hollywood that obviously acknowledged that the studio system in the 50s was absolutely terrible and incredibly flawed, but made some great films out of it. And I think that it was the best pilot to a TV series that has never been made. It feels like a great setting for a sitcom, this studio lot where Josh Brolin's character just goes to these different sets and meets these different characters every week. And I kind of wish that was it. But as it stands right now, it's just a really funny, well-done film. And there's a scene early on where they're trying to...
Wow.
What?
You're lucky Trey's away right now because he had that film.
Oh, fair enough. But there's a scene early on where Josh Brolin, their film Hail Caesar is about Jesus and God and everything. And Josh Brolin's character speaks to a Jewish man, a Catholic priest, because all these different religious figures, and to ask them if their depiction of the Son of God is tasteful or inoffensive. And these four guys are just arguing at a table talking about God and just how they hate each other and their opposing religious views. And it's just really well written. If you've seen the trailer, there's the scene where Ray Fiennes is trying to get the Western cowboy actor to say, "What did it were so simple?" And it's it's probably the funniest scene I've seen in a long time. It is so well done. It is it's funny in the trailer, but in context, it's so much better because it's so informed by great characters and really well nuanced dialogue, surprisingly. And my screening was just howling with laughter.
Wow.
I don't think it's a brilliant film. I think it's personally my favorite Coen Brothers film. That's, bear in mind, I don't really like their dramatic films. I think they really miss the mark. But I had a big grin from beginning to end. So, good thing Trey's not here, otherwise oh god, he's behind me with a chair!
Hey, I'm back. Do you want to talk
Oh,
about
thank God.
Do you want to talk about some House of Cards, Bandit?
Yes, I do. We should probably avoid giving any direct spoilers.
Well, I'm only on episode 8 of this third. I don't know if you finished it, so that's where I'm at. I'm on episode 8 of.
Yeah, I think I'm about 5 or 6, something like that.
Okay, so I'm farther than you are. Okay, then we're fine.
I'm on episode 1, series 1.
It's
So
amazing.
you guys talk for a few minutes. I'm going to get a cuppa.
Okay.
All right.
Because I have nothing to add to this.
And for all our
2
listeners,
minutes.
remember, time code's down in the description if you want to jump ahead. So.
Yeah, but what makes a show like House of Cards so great is that not much happens action-wise. And it feels very Sorkin-esque at times, like Aaron Sorkin-y. But it's a David Fincher show, so that's not surprising. And like the way that it's so despicable, and it's so slimy. It's also kind of Macbethian in a kind of a way, and and you're just watching this guy just like, how do I put this? Just kind of like defile Washington D.C. Just like him like just up the rear of Washington D.C. and make all of America his puppet essentially. And you're just watching him trying to.
Trilbee actually is going to make a cup of tea. That's weird. I thought he was joking when he said that.
He didn't mute his mic was the problem. That's okay. That's what
you're going. Ugh, this stupid podcast. I hate these guys.
I can just hear him going, typical Mary Sue. Yeah. No, but like, and I think what makes this season of House of Cards, season 4 specifically, remind me so much of the first 2 seasons is that stuff is actually happening. With season 3, as great as it was to, and I guess can we give spoilers for seasons like 1 to 3? Can we do that? Just don't give spoilers for season 4.
Yeah, of
is that
course.
okay?
Yeah,
all right.
Sure.
And
I actually think the first 2 seasons were better because I enjoyed seeing him climb the ladder more than I enjoyed seeing people sort of try to topple him off the ladder.
Yeah, well, that's what I was trying to get at. Like season 2 ends with him becoming president, which is like the best moment of the whole series. Just having him like, wow, he actually did it, and and so
when he goes up to the table and goes,
yeah. Dude, I when I first saw the show, I did that for like a week straight. Just walked on down and started knocking on tables, and like with season 3, it was just kind of like, as great as the relationship between him and his wife Claire is, it's not the key. It's not what the show should be focused on. That's not what the show's about. The show is about him making America his female dog. It's about him. It really is. And so when you're watching him kind of have problems with his wife, it's boring, and I'm not into that. Which is why they found a good balance in season 4 of having him try to keep his power, screwing over people, making America his female dog once more, while still having to focus on the stuff with his wife. And I think they found the perfect balance, and that's why it feels so like the first couple of seasons. I'm really enjoying it.
Well, I liked how it sort of followed on as he like sort of climbs the ladder. It's that saying, new levels bring new devils. And it's like, so he's had to overcome all these people, and then he becomes president, but now he's got to deal with Petrov, who is obviously Putin.
So
obviously
so
a take of the Russian president. But like in the start of this season, again without giving spoilers, when there's different phone calls between like either Kevin Spacey and him and all that. But you see, like, on Kevin Spacey's side, he's there and he's got, like, his cabinet and all the ones around him. But when it cuts to, like, Petrov in Russia, it's just Petrov by himself in his office.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, that's really interesting.
It's just him, which I think works. And I loved when something happens at a certain point, and I'm trying to ruin it for you as well. I'm not sure how far you've gotten, but when there's something that happens to one of our lead characters in which they are out of commission for a bit, for a few episodes.
Yeah, just seen that.
In which case, I'm not sure if you've seen this far. In which case, as America works, someone else has to take over for a certain person's role. Yeah. And watching what could be, and you realize that this person actually could be. Sorry, I hit my mic. This person could actually be a really effective, really strong leader if they have someone like the person that helps them do what they do. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, if
I actually disagree, though. I think that person is a terrible leader in every single way.
I really like
based off
the
the fact
dynamic
that
they
person has failed at literally everything else they've done, but somehow feels entitled, as Kevin Spacey basically said, to a certain role. And we can't go too.
It's
much
like Donald Trump or something, isn't it?
Yeah. We're not thinking
actually,
of the same character.
speaking of Donald,
we're not thinking of the same character.
All right. Yeah,
you're thinking of Claire. You're thinking of Claire, and I completely agree with you.
Thanks for giving spoilers. Good on you, mate.
I'm thinking of. Oh, calm down.
No, but look,
I'm thinking
interesting
of
though, because Trilbee, you mentioned Donald Trump. I saw Kevin Spacey in an interview. Someone was asking him, like, in the show, your character's always talking to the camera. He's like, obviously you're talking to the audience, but in story context, who does he think he's talking to? And Kevin Spacey says, well, whenever President Underwood talks to the camera, he's speaking to one person and one person only, and that person is Donald Trump. and goes, and we can see he's getting the message.
Oh yeah, like
we need to build a wall around House of Cards to stop
and
the
make
other
China pay
shows
for it
from getting into House of Cards. House of Cards doesn't go to other shows and ruin them, so why should those shows get to come to House of Cards?
That, folks, is how you do it.
I don't want to get political real quick, but my thing is, if you feel like the Mexican immigrants are taking over your jobs, you need to try and get a better job, because like Mexican immigrants are not like trying to like become politicians or like trying to become millionaires. Like if you're upset because a Mexican immigrant took over a daily job as a gardener who makes 10 cents an hour, you need to try to reach for better goals. That's all I'm saying. Let's move on.
Yeah, be a podcaster or something.
I'm not trying to sound so self-entitled, but come on, guys, like, seriously. But House of Cards, it's great, and I agree with your statement about Claire. If you get a Mexican worker who's
working for like 10 cents an hour, isn't that basically slavery?
It is, but at that point, that's all they can do at that point.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, but like I agree with what you're saying about Claire, which is not a spoiler. Calm down. But I agree with what you're saying about Claire. I'm talking about Blythe.
Well, it's interesting though, because at the end of season 3, it ends with because we are giving spoilers up to season 3, but not this new season. But it ends with her basically leaving Frank, so there's friction between the two of them in this season. But it's funny because like watching the first couple episodes, especially, I'm thinking, Claire, do you really want to do this? Because he's already murdered 2 people.
Yeah.
And he wasn't even president, and he's had his henchmen kill a 3rd person. If you think he's not going to kill you, he will. I'm like, I don't know if you want to do this,
I'm waiting
Claire.
for when that happens. I'm waiting for the day he kills. Oh, it's gonna be so.
He's already thinking about it, isn't he?
Yeah, and I hate Claire so much. I don't know. I've always hated Claire. I think she reminds me of like the girl who gets good grades in school, but that's because she cheats. Like she cheats off all the smart people. That's what she reminds me of. I don't know. But yeah. But I love Kevin Spacey. I think is doing some of his best work in this season. I think I really enjoyed what's his face, the guy that got to play Lucas. I don't want to give away what his role is, but he does some great work here. Like talk about rock bottom. But
talk about.
But
hey, would you? Yeah. Let me ask you: would you vote for Frank Underwood if he was a real guy?
Knowing who because you haven't gotten this far, but knowing who he's going up against, yes, I would vote for Frank Underwood. Because as a regular voter, I wouldn't know all the back. I wouldn't know he killed 2 people. I wouldn't know that. He seems it's Kevin Spacey.
What if it was Frank Underwood versus Donald Trump?
Frank Underwood.
Yeah, you know what? I'd probably vote for Frank Underwood too.
Because Frank Underwood's not going to make me leave the country.
But,
so
he's a monster.
But he's not a racist.
He's not like a Hitler monster. He's not going to start annexing his own country, sort of thing.
Thank you.
Let me ask you this: Would Underwood, in the series, has he made love to a pig?
Kinda.
No. What?
Kinda.
Because if he hasn't,
he has his wife.
he's better than the UK Prime Minister.
What?
Just saying. Yeah, there was a story a few weeks ago that the Prime Minister David Cameron of the UK allegedly, just going to throw that in case we get sued, a pig during his high school days.
What
just
is
saying.
it with the English tabloids? There's no way that could possibly be real.
It's like
How is that
when
even
Arya.
a thing in England? You guys,
It's
there's
like
something
it's
wrong
like
with you guys.
It's like in Game of Thrones when Arya went to go look for his aunt, and they're like, "Sorry, your aunt's been murdered," and Arya just starts busting out laughing. That's exactly what I'm like this right now. Are you serious?
That's ridiculous.
He allegedly did it in his high school days because he was like he was part of a private school, and it was like a initiation thing, like a frat house, so alternative in the UK.
No,
I don't know.
That's not right. That's not true.
But here's the thing:
And
if you know
to be
anything
fair-
about UK politics, no one was surprised. No one was like, David Cameron f***ed a pig? That sounds so unlike him. No one was
Bandit,
surprised.
You want to add a swear count?
Yeah,
to,
I'm putting in timestamp for all this.
Because last week I swore and Bandit said it was okay.
yeah, it's all right. I just
it's
I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. I just try to.
You can swear, but
It's
Bandit wants
easier
to
for us
keep
to get sponsorship if we don't have swearing, and that way the videos don't get age restricted on YouTube.
Okay, well, feel free to
And
get rid
also
of that
on-
entire thing.
YouTube actually does have community guidelines against swearing, which they never enforce, but in theory they could. So,
Well,
That's
I
Okay,
say
well,
with
feel
YouTube,
free to get rid of that
I don't
entire
want to touch
digression.
it.
yeah, but it's all right. You're
And
talking
you're
about a
asking-
real life news story, so it's.
And you're
fine.
asking. You're asking if Frank Underwood ever had sex with a pig, and to be fair, he does have his wife, which comes pretty close. She is
Snap.
she is just as vile, just as annoying, just as useless.
Yeah, but let's just say his door swings both ways, though.
Yeah, it does.
Not
yeah.
into the animal
Pigs
realm,
and
but
cows.
Every time, and from that point on, every time him and Meacham have a scene together, I always get a little
yeah.
trepidatious. I'm like, oh, are we gonna something gonna happen here? All right. I was like every because that scene changed everything.
Yeah, that was such a moment where everyone was like, I did not expect that, but okay.
Oh, we were like, huh? Yeah. That's
Anyway,
how
we should probably start talking about our main topic.
Okay. Can I have 2 minutes to talk about Zootopia? Because we're only an hour
Oh
in.
yes, of course. We forgot about
Can I-
Zootopia.
Can I? Okay, I'll try to do this quickly.
Again,
okay.
Please
everyone
don't spoil it.
timestamps in the description if you want to skip ahead. So
Trilbee, I promise I won't put any spoilers because you seem to be excited for the movie. I promise I won't.
We don't
spoil
get it for like 4 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, you know what? I wanted to see it yesterday. I wanted to take my nephew to see it, but it's not out, so we went and we saw Goosebumps instead. But there was like
That's
a 5-minute clip for the movie. it was weird. There was like a trailer, then there was like a 5-minute clip for the movie, and it was where all the sloths are in the place. And she's trying to
It's a
get him to
beautiful
type
scene.
in that the sloths are moving.
Oh,
so
that
slow, but
scene's so wonderful. God, I love that scene. Okay,
Yeah.
it's in the trailer, and that it's even funnier in the actual movie. Okay, Trilbee, I won't ruin this for you, I promise.
Yay.
But I saw Zootopia the Monday I think you guys recorded. I saw it Monday evening, and I gotta say, I loved it. It's wonderful. It's probably the best film I've seen all year, which isn't saying much, I guess. It's way better than Deadpool, thank God. And I think Disney, because as you guys may know, Disney for me has kind of been in kind of cold water, whatever that expression is for me, because I didn't like Frozen. I did not like Big Hero 6. I liked Wreck-It Ralph, but for me, Disney has not put out a good film in a couple of years. Thankfully, I can say that Zootopia is a return to the form for Disney in a way I really wasn't expecting. The theming of Zootopia is where this movie really succeeds because they're able to tackle issues of prejudice and race. That's all I'll say. Without it being like, it's obvious because it still has to be, because kids still have to kind of understand what they're talking about. But they're not talking down the children. It's very smart in how they tackle the issues, and everything about the movie was, the voice acting's wonderful, the animation's so beautiful, and just think the hindsight that Disney had to talk about subjects of race and prejudice and police brutality, and tackle all these subjects in an animated film about talking animals. It's incredible, and the way they do it, it's really clever, and I loved it. I give it a 9 out of 10. It was really impressive. I was very impressed.
So it gives a lot of like commentary for like racial stuff. Does that mean like you can go, oh, see the lions of this race or the elephants of that race, or is it just
I don't
kind
want
of
to give it away. I don't want to give it away.
Okay.
Without, I guess I can say this without giving much away. There's certain aspects of where someone will walk into a store and be like, "Hey, your kind isn't accepted here. We don't accept your kind because this, and this," or don't trust this race because this, and this, or this race is bad because this is how things work now, and this is how and they're real, and our characters
is there a
are,
Donald Trump animal?
No.
Is he an elephant with a trumpet thing?
I'd see him as a walrus. You know, you can put a
Kevin
wig
Smith
on
in the
the Donald
background.
Trump wig on a walrus. That'll work.
No, but they do make a lot of adult jokes. You know, there's nudist colonies and whatnot. You know, and there's a lot of Disney references. Like they make references to, you know, Let It Go and all that stuff. You know, it's a really good movie. Trilbee, if you're this excited, you're gonna really enjoy it. It does have some cliches, of course. It really does have that. It's a buddy cop movie, so expect what you expect with that genre. But the way they do it and the way they tack on the racial stuff just really brought it to a whole new level for me. All right. So yeah, Zootopia, it's really great. You know, all the theming's there. The voice acting's wonderful. If you're a fan of Disney movies, you're going to love this. If you're not a fan of Disney movies, you're probably going to enjoy this. It's a very smart animated film. And if your moviesucks.com, that YouTube channel, says it's not great, don't listen to him because he loved Anomalisa. So, anyways, yeah, Bandit, that's, let's get to our feature presentation.
Shots fired.
I'm just saying, your movie sucks is such a pretentious a-hole. I'm just,
Wait a minute. Last time you mentioned him, you said you liked him.
I liked him. I like his reviews. I think he's a good movie critic. But my God, if he doesn't have such a biased view on movies, it's so annoying.
I like him, but he does have a very specific taste.
It's so annoying. Oh my God.
He's like the Max Landis of film critics.
Thank you. He's like, I loved her. I'm like, that's good for you. I'm happy you loved her. I really enjoyed her as well. But don't call don't call Inside Out uninspired and then go over there and loving and say you loved her when her is a concept that's been done before as well.
And now, our feature presentation.
So, Man of Steel, it's time, guys. The much maligned / beloved Man of Steel. Trilbee, do you want to start? Give us your thoughts on Man of Steel.
Okay, right. Because I was so busy this week, it was tough to find time to sit down and watch the 3.5 million hour Man of Steel. So, it's so much longer than I remember it being, and because this weekend is Mother's Day, so and it was weird. All the mothers listening to this podcast, you've already got my number. But for Man of Steel. I'm in two thoughts for Man of Steel. Okay. It's as a Superman movie and as a jumpstart to this DC cinematic universe. It's shaky foundations, but as a first contact science fiction movie, it's admirable but still quite flawed. It depends on how you approach it.
Yeah.
So you're telling me you hated it? No,
I actually gave it like 4 stars.
Internet rules for this conversation. You either have to love it or you have to hate it. There's no middle ground.
Argument. The Deadpool argument.
You cannot be a woman. No, I'm kidding.
Why was Feora in the movie?
Oh my God.
God, such an SJW movie because there's a woman in it. Oh, God.
Typical Mary Sue.
Oh gosh.
Well,
but
sorry, please go on.
You go. I'm interested in what you folks think of it.
Well, for anyone who follows my YouTube channel knows I love Man of Steel when it came out. Did a lot of defending of it when it came out. Been a huge Superman fan. Enough time has passed now that I can totally acknowledge all of its problems. And I think like a fitting metaphor in rewatching it now is kind of like Tony Robbins has this saying how when he was out golfing. And, like, some days he's good, some days he's bad. And he says on this one day he was especially bad, and his coach wasn't giving him any advice. And his coach said, yeah, he's like, look, you're like half an inch off. And he's like, what are you talking about? Like, the greens are over there. I'm all the way over there in the sand. He's like, no, just half an inch. Like, when you come in and swing your club, you scrape the grass just like half an inch. Or even when you hit the ball, just the angle of the blade of the club, whatever it is, it's just half an inch in a different direction, and just half an inch is the difference of where the ball lands, whether it's on the greens or in the sand. That's a fitting metaphor, I think, for Man of Steel, and it's frustrating for me because I'm like, just a few tiny little changes could have been the difference between this landing in the sand or landing like a hole in one. And it's like, so it's frustrating for me because I'm like, if they just trimmed a few things here, just added like an extra line of exposition here, there, they could have made it so much better. So
I'm with you there. Yeah.
I just got a flashback to your video about Man of Steel and how there's the one plot hole everyone forgot about, and so you're just talking to me, and I just remember in your video about the major plot hole was sex and like how you cut to the word sex
because they're after the codex because we have the codex is the only way we can bring our people back to life. Well, no, Superman was an organic, was a natural birth. You can just do it the old-fashioned way.
And just like the gif, I have the gif of like the Inception blah with the word sex like going like giant letters from the screen. So it's so funny.
Like, that's the lesson we can learn from Krypton. If you ban sex, the planet will explode.
Talk about sexual tension. Hey-o.
So what's your overall thoughts on it, Trey?
Well, okay, so it's been a few weeks since I didn't have time to watch it this weekend, but I have seen it recently about the last month or so. It was on TV, and I watched it. It was on HBO. And so my thing is that I love the first maybe hour and a half of this movie. Like, I unabashedly love the first hour and a half of Man of Steel. It's in the line of the third act, where the movie kind of not necessarily falls apart for me, but it kind of just like it just kind of keeps going on repeat. Like it goes into autopilot to where I'm like, yay action, yay action, yay action,
yeah.
Yay action! Think, it just kind of keeps going. Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that's reactionary too, because everyone made such a big deal, including myself, about Superman Returns that he never throws a single punch in the entire movie, which he doesn't. By the way, If you go through and watch it.
The man. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, well, Kevin Smith, we'll talk about him later because there's other things that happen in this movie that are a reference to him. So we'll cover them when we get to them.
There's a giant spider.
Yeah. So it definitely did go overboard with the action, and I think a big part of that is because either we got no action in Superman Returns, and then it was such a huge gap since we've had any actual like Superman movies apart from the animated stuff, and then even Christopher Reeve, like they had action, but they were limited by the technology of the time, so they just went too far.
Of course. I mean, to quote, and Kevin Smith had a great quote about, if Superman, if Superman movies were music, like the old Christopher Reeve movies would be like the Beatles, Superman Returns would be like mopey indie rock, and then like Man of Steel would be like metal music, like heavy metal, like goth, like that kind of music, which is really true, and like I said, the first, the mythology that they set up on Krypton, everything on Krypton is like my favorite part of the movie. Everything on Krypton,
I love that.
So
I wanted them to spend more time on Krypton.
Yeah,
I mean, I know the planet needs to blow up, but just to set up the rivalry between like Jor-El and Zod, and that Zod, because the idea is that Zod is the only one who really listens to Jor-El that the planet is doomed. So he actually wants to take action to, like I'm talking about in the comics, to protect humanity as well. But after Jor-El fails to convince them, there's the overthrow. So there's like a real cool history. I would have liked to see more of that. You get a little bit of that in the council where all the people with the funny hats get shot. And
funny hats, more like phallic hats. Sorry. Sorry.
Well, like in Nostalgia Critic, he's animated like roller coasters going down them because they got all the the railing going down around the shoulders.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you go back to the original, the Superman animated series from the '90s, that follows essentially kind of the same plot in the first couple episodes. It's all set on Krypton, and except Zod, it's Brainiac. In terms of everything on Krypton, the look of it was really cool. It felt kind of, it felt very like 300 meets Avatar in a certain sense of the cinematography.
Definitely Avatar.
Well, I know Bandit was kind of trepidatious about the whole Avatar comparison. To quote your video,
right,
you said Avatar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of there's a lot of different creatures. There's clearly an environment. Krypton is definitely its own individual habitat, and I love it. I love everything with the Codex. Granted, it could have been all solved by banging, but at that point, maybe that just wasn't in their mind. Yeah. So whatever.
But also on that, that's I think that speaks the whole thing of the Codex speaks to a bigger problem with Man of Steel that it really needed to be streamlined. Even that whole thing with the codex, you could actually completely remove the codex from the movie, and it wouldn't really matter. You know, like you could just make it that Zod just shows up and is like, Earth, yes, we can live here. Let's take this planet. You don't really need this thing of.
Okay.
And why did Jor-El even put the codex in Superman in the first place? Like, what was he hoping to achieve by that? Like, it serves a good purpose later on that Zod is trying to get that, but Jor-El didn't know that, so why would he even do that? I don't know.
Maybe to pass on his family's heritage, maybe so that he knows, so that Cal grows up maybe knowing what, you know, I don't know. I don't know.
See, that's one of the things, watching it again, I'm like, what was Jor-El's plan? Like, I mean, he wants to save his son, usually, but in this, he wants to put the codex but bond it with Superman's cells. And then later on he says, Superman, we wanted you to learn what it meant to be a human first, so you could be the bridge between two peoples. And it's like, okay, so you wanted to bring more Kryptonians later and that Superman would help to introduce them, but you knew the planet was blowing up. You must have known you didn't have time for that. So
we forgot to talk about Walking Dead, but we'll just do that next week. Sorry, I just realized it now. We forgot to talk about Walking Dead.
But yeah, Man of Steel, like too many ideas, too much stuff for one script. Like, Trilbee, you mentioned Max Landis before. He, I know a lot of people don't like Max Landis, and I understand why. But...
God, Superman's such a Gary Stu.
Well, he is really.
Why is he helping people?
No, he's not. No,
God,
he's not.
He's too good at stuff.
But what was I going to say? But yeah, Max Landis, someone wrote into him and said, you know, what's your advice for like screenwriters? He said, because I'm writing a movie script, but I feel like there's too much stuff in it. How do I know when there's too much stuff in a script? And Max Landis had pretty good advice, I think. He said, most scripts, you want to limit it to just 3 things. Like you take the original Superman movie, 3 things happen, really. Superman comes to Earth, he becomes Superman, he fights the bad guy. That's it. And, you know, most movies, like, it can fall into that. There's either 3, sometimes 4 things that happen. But if it's more than that, then you're like, what is going on? And I think that would have been a good rule for them to follow as well with Man of Steel. Just limited to just 3 things happening. Just keep it simple.
Yeah, I agree. I think you know, it's once they get to... I think if not Krypton is the best part of the movie, the best chunk of the movie is probably all the flashbacks. To when Clark is a little boy.
Yes. Because even if there is a little too many of them and they do happen too soon together, would have been good if they found a better way to pace them out.
It's because it's the structure of Batman Begins, essentially.
Yes, I wrote that down in my notes. You very much can see the Batman Begins structure in it. But why do you think it is that structure works there but not here?
I was still completely okay with it, just because, you know, we start out and, you know, we get kind of a flash forward / flashback. You know, we see him, you know, on the boat, you know, saving lives, and then it cuts back to when he's a kid, and, you know, it's kind of the parallels I think are there, and I think it also maybe I think it's because Zack Snyder wanted to have that last hour just be a complete action fest of where people just start punching each other for just explosions and destruction and millions dead. But I think. Granted, maybe they should be paced out more, but these scenes themselves are so powerful, and I completely agree with Angry Joe when he talks about the whole "should we let them die?" He said maybe, because it shows that Pa Kent does not know what to do with his son. He does not know what he should. And maybe that's not Superman. Maybe that's not what the character should do. But in terms of the context of this movie, I think it works.
I think that's a double-edged sword, because it does prove that Pa Kent he's just a farm man. He doesn't know these life or death globe spanning consequences. He doesn't know, or he doesn't have all of the answers. But at the same time, we don't really see Clark Kent's parents instill the values in their son, their adopted son, about truth, justice, and the American way. So while the thing about Man of Steel is that every strength it has is almost immediately undercut by something that doesn't quite work. Like, one of my favorite moments of the movie is when Zod is threatening Mark Kent, I forget her name, and then he just launches at him, and then starts punching, like, you think you can threaten my mother? Like, loved that. That's the first time that he really cuts loose in the movie, and it's such a brilliant moment. But then it feels like it's trying to be too big by having him go through this massive building, by destroying the petrol station, and I'm just thinking, like, you just needed that initial tackle. You didn't need all this collateral damage and then destroying this near nearby town.
Yeah.
I just think it's undercut by the collateral damage in that scene. I didn't mind it so much at the end because Metropolis was practically destroyed anyway.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I think
actually,
that...
before we move on, I just want to go back because Trey, you were talking about the line of what was I supposed to do? Just let him die, maybe. Like, I agree with you in the sense that, like, I understand what they were trying to say. Is they were trying to make it that Pa Kent is like, look, I don't have all the answers. I don't know this stuff. I just know that I don't want the world to figure out who you are yet because you're too young and you can't handle it yet. But they really should have rewritten that line or just reworked it because it's like, I understand what they're trying to say, but they just didn't communicate. It goes back to that golfing metaphor of just a slight adjustment could have fixed it. And like I found there are a lot of lines like that in the movie.
I think it's the interpretation, because my first thought whenever he said, "Shall I let them die?" Maybe my first thought was not what everyone jumped to, which was Pa Kent told him not to save the kids. That's not what not what, like, when I first heard the line, my first thought was, oh, okay, he's unsure, he doesn't know what he's doing. But I don't understand that. I think this is where we kind of the line's been drawn. I have no idea where the flip people are getting the thought that Pa Kent told him to let the kids drown.
I think it's got to do with the delivery because I think because he goes maybe and he sounds so solemn. Maybe if he'd gone maybe, I don't know, or something he's like his mind is going a mile a minute.
That's what I mean. He could have just said like maybe. I don't know. I don't have the answers. He could have just said
thank you. Thank you.
But it's like because like the idea is he's like sure there's a busload of kids that you want to save, but on the other hand he's trying to wrap his head around how Superman is going to totally change how the world works and which one is more valuable. Who can tell? Who can make that decision? Nobody knows. But they just it just wasn't very well written. It needed to be
remember because Pa Kent and Ma Kent have just had this incredibly powerful super being just turn up on their doorstep and they are just normal people and they don't know what to do with it, which is why I think Man of Steel is a better first contact alien invasion movie than it is a Superman adaptation.
Okay.
But I think there were also other moments where, like, I think a line just could have been rewritten. Like when hologram Jor-El is talking to Superman for the first time, Superman's like, "Why didn't you come with me?" And he goes, "We couldn't, no matter how much we wanted to." And people go, "Well, that's not an answer," and it's not. But it's like he could have just said, "Well," because he did just say our society abandoned space travel, so he just could have just said, "We couldn't, we didn't have any ships. I only had time to build yours." Just say that. Like,
well, didn't they earlier
that could fix a lot of these?
Well, didn't they say earlier that they didn't have advanced space travel? They stopped abandoning space travel. So but the audience doesn't have a reason to be upset that he didn't tell. All he has to say is that he couldn't even want to because Clark was like, fair enough. I mean, like, I don't understand. Like, I don't understand where the confusion's coming from. I don't understand. I'm confused. I'm confused about the confusion. I don't know. It just something doesn't seem to be connected with me. I don't know. Like when this movie ended. Sorry, go ahead.
There was. I've also noticed there's a few things in Man of Steel where I'm like, as a Superman fan, I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's this or that's that. But then they don't really do anything with it. Like, for example, like back on Krypton. Jor-El's got Keelix, his little robot with the weird face thing, which is kind of really cool. And I was like, oh, he's got Keelix, and then his wife has got Keylor, and they've got these little robot servants. Because in the comics, Superman does actually have a Kryptonian robot servant who looks after the Fortress of Solitude when he's away.
Right.
So when I saw that the first time in the movies, I was like, I bet he's going to put Keelix in the pod with Superman, and we'll end up on Earth. Nope, gone. I was like, oh, come on, man. Really, and same thing with like Jenny Olsen.
Well,
right?
you can't blame the movie on doing something that you wanted it to do and it just didn't do it. I mean, that's not the movie's fault. That's just what you were wanting.
Like, I don't mind them not using it, but it's like, but why put it in the movie but then not use it if it's there? And same thing with
I think they thought it was a cool effect. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it was kind of help expand.
That's the problem with Zack Snyder. He just goes, "Hey, that's cool. Let's throw it in," but he doesn't think about using it properly.
I'm gonna stop digging this hole deeper. I'm gonna because clearly I'm not gonna get
Jenny Olsen, right? There's the character, the girl who's trapped under the rubble, Jenny Olsen. But it's like, okay, so people like Jenny Olsen, so maybe they've done a gender swap and they've turned Jimmy Olsen to Jenny Olsen, but which I'm fine with. But then they also said, no, we haven't done a gender swap. Jimmy Olsen is still in this universe, but he's someone else. Why? Why not just make her Jimmy Olsen, or just don't call her that?
Huh?
You know,
It's not like saying
why not just make that guy that is played by the guy from House of Cards? Why not just make him Jimmy Olsen? That's essentially who he was playing throughout the entire movie.
Yeah,
he essentially had
exactly.
the Jimmy Olsen
So I'm like,
role.
See, it's like, why have Keelix if you're not going to put him in the pub with Superman? Why have Jenny Olsen if you're not going to do a gender swap for Jimmy?
Well, that would be like having Lawrence Fishburne as Perry White and going, no, that's not. We've not done a racial swap. That's Perry White's identical twin brother, but black.
Yeah, Perry Black's upstairs. Yeah,
yeah. You know,
Perry White and Perry Black.
It's funny because I've always said that Martian Manhunter is one of my favorite characters, and I always thought he would be that actor, Lawrence Fishburne, would be a great actor to play Martian Manhunter. And it's funny because rewatching this, I thought that would fit so well with his character because he does like when he's talking to Lois, he's like, I'm not doing a story about aliens walking among us. It's just not going to happen. And I thought that'd be great if that was Martian Manhunter, because he literally is an alien walking among them. And it would make sense it'd make sense as to why he wants to shut the story up. And there's moments where she's like bluffing, but he can see through it. And I'm like, Martian Manhunter's telepathic. He would already know. So yeah, that'd be great. But yeah, it's not going to happen.
But for Man of Steel, like when it comes to the big action set piece at the end, like it's technically really awesomely done and there's great spectacle and destruction and everything, but the dynamics of the fight don't really change because you can't really tell if they're doing damage to one another.
Yeah, that's my biggest problem with it. Is that sorry, go ahead.
Well, there's no peaks and valleys to the thing. It's like you can't really tell if they're hurting each other, which is why the climax at the end, when there's the moment of desperation for Zod, just comes completely out of nowhere. It should have built to that. It's technically amazing and it's awesome. There's probably one of my favorite shots of the film is when Superman punches Zod, the camera swivels around to his other shoulder as he does a second punch as he's flying.
Yeah.
This is the stuff that comic book fans are just dreaming of seeing on the big screen, but it's not in aid of anything dramatically fulfilling.
Yeah. Thank you, and that's why I think I'm okay with that shot you were talking about earlier, where he's punching Zod because he threatened his mother, and then sends them flying through the silos and makes that giant explosion, which I'm okay with because afterwards, right after that, you see Zod. He's clearly he's been hurt by what just happened to him. Because Superman clearly beat the piss out of Zod just now, and Zod knows it. And which is why it makes that scene even more powerful when he's like, "You think you hurt my butt?" That's my favorite. That's one of my favorite scenes of the movie because there's character there, But with that whole ending fight, it's just them punching each other for an hour, which I'm not. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, what's annoying is that the moment you were talking about where Zod did get damaged, that doesn't happen for like another minute after the confrontation because they get hit into the garage, the petrol station, and then UK. Shush! Oh, you think you can threaten my accent? He throws his cape off, and then his suit starts malfunctioning, and it's not until the suit starts breaking down that he shows the moment of weakness. And then you have this fight in the middle of Smallville where nobody's getting hurt.
I disagree.
Sorry, no,
sorry, Trey. Go ahead. Your volume sounded really loud when you were saying that, but low when you were saying that. But go ahead.
Well, I really enjoyed the fight in Smallville because it feels like I was reading a comic book. That entire like Superman's trying to fly away and they're grabbing his cape and pulling him back to the ground and they're like tag teaming him. Yeah, and like it feels like that shot in the Civil War trailer, just like that. And like they throw him into the IHOP. But like everything about that fight was that. That's why I say I love the first hour and a half of this movie because of stuff like that. Because that's a lot of intense action. That's Zack Snyder, doing his disaster porn because he loves doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's still character behind it. He's still trying to protect his hometown. Why does he let the fight still happen in Smallville? That's whatever. But he's still trying to protect his hometown.
But there's the great moment where he helps the helicopter pilot.
Yeah.
And he stops like, "Are you all right?" And then he tackles the Kryptonian who tries to kill him. And how cool is that general who gets out of the crash helicopter and he tries to knife Feora?
Colonel, not general.
Colonel. Oh yeah, all right, we got a badass here. and they just pull a knife and he's just seen this other Kryptonian just destroy buildings.
Yeah.
And she's like, "A good death is its own reward." Yeah. But he's about to go for it, and then Superman just charges into it. I think that's a pretty cool moment.
I'm glad you brought that up because I actually wanted to talk about that. Because did you guys pick that, like, between that Colonel and Feora, there was kind of like some kind of vibe going on. Maybe not a romantic.
Oh, they were totally
one.
doing it.
Yeah, maybe not a romantic one, but I think like as warriors they kind of respected each other, because when she gets on the plane at the end and he's about to crash it, he says the same thing. He's like, a good death is its own reward.
Yeah, a good death is its own reward. I
feel
like
snap!
Those two had a connection of like, you know, they're trying to like one up each other, kind of like not necessarily a playful, but it's kind of like, you know, in a lesser extent in the Hobbit trilogy, the same way Legolas has with that one orc, the one orc that's underneath the main one. Yeah, you may not recognize who I'm talking about, but that's because those movies are so forgettable. Yeah. But that's what my mind first.
You know, the
went
weird thing is though, like, I mean, he did crash the plane into Zod's ship, so he was probably killed in the crash. If he didn't, he's in the Phantom Zone right now, which means he could come back, possibly with superpowers, possibly being a different character. And same thing with the professor who was in the back of the ship as well. He's in the Phantom Zone now.
Yeah, he is.
Which is cool. So Feora and the professor and that colonel, they could all easily come back in a future movie if they want to have them. Which I think would be great.
I can see it now. This movie has too many characters.
But interestingly, Feora was actually meant to be played by Gal Gadot, but she couldn't play it because she was pregnant at the time of filming, which allowed her to become Wonder Woman later on. So
I so want to see Feora and Wonder Woman fight. That's got to be a versus. Feora versus Wonder Woman. That's what I want. I want to see in the Wonder Woman movie. It's like the Paradise Island. It's Wonder Woman's home planet. Suddenly, like, space just rips open, and all the criminals from like the Phantom Zone, they just all come pouring out. So it's like a big Lord of the Rings battle between all the Amazons and all these criminals, and we can get Feora versus Wonder Woman. There's your movie right there. That's great.
It could be okay. Like, so it looked like they're all fighting each other. Wonder Woman's taking out all these guys, and then you just hear in the background, "Traitor!" And then and the camera spins over, and you see Feora like take off her mask, and then just like it's on, and the fight's on, dude.
And then Batman comes along with his grenade launcher and fires.
You see the general in the background. It's like, that'd be awesome.
I think
someone comes up to Batman and says, "Where did you get that grenade launcher?" He goes, "A good story for another time."
Yeah.
Oh no, only Star Wars can get away with doing stuff like that. That's right. Yeah.
Well, no, I'm stopping this before it even starts. No, I'm blowing the whistle. Well,
you have one.
General Zod is my favorite part of this movie. Michael Shannon walks away with Man of Steel.
He's fantastic.
Yeah, he really is. He's the best part of this. Like right from the get go. Will you find him, Trilbee?
I will find him.
I will find him!
I will find him! Where is your codex? It's so great.
Well, just every moment, because
he's either quiet or screaming.
Because Terrence Stamp's portrayal in Richard Donner's Superman is difficult to top. It's cheesy, but so much fun. Like, Neil, welcome to Planet Houston. It's so good. But it's Michael Shannon, 70s. I think, very 70s. But I think that General Zod in this movie he's actually a really compelling villain because in how single-minded he is. Mm-hmm. He's not particularly complex, but he has a goal. He's been bred for a specific purpose. And Michael Shannon is perfect in that type of outlandish but incredibly razor-thin intensity.
I liked how the movie's kind of sorry. Go ahead. The movie's kind of ballsy in how they handle the whole Krypton thing, because Superman's whole deal for a while in the comics was how he's the last son of Krypton. He is the last one of his people, and so when Zod's like, "If you destroy this thing, you destroy Krypton," and Superman says, and I quote, "Krypton had its chance," and completely just like in one fell swoop destroys everything his planet had for, which is why it makes that moment even more powerful when he has to kill Zod, because he knows at that moment everything about Krypton is gone. So the movie's kind of ballsy in how they did that. That was great. And oh man,
and see, there are some like good sort of like connecting themes in that after he loses like all his reason for existing, like he's fighting Superman and he wants Superman to kill him because a good death is its own reward. That's basically what he wanted. And for all the people who are like, why didn't he lure Zod away? Because Zod said he was going to kill all the humans. So if Superman's like, well, follow me, he'd just be like, no. And he'd just stay there and keep killing people. So you have to fight him there.
Yeah. Ugh. And people are like, why couldn't he cover his hand with his eyes with his hand, like, because Kryptonian lasers would hurt Superman.
That's even established earlier.
Shot. Yeah. And it hurts them to shoot the lasers out of their eyes. I think it would feel if you got it's like, Jesus.
like
it's
people are like, oh, he shouldn't have killed Zod. It's like, well, what would you have done?
Thank you.
Really? What would you?
Let
what
them
could
die?
you do?
Would you let them die? Maybe. Yeah.
I prefer the fight before they start taking it to the air, where General Zod is just leaping around and climbing up the buildings.
Yeah, like
I think it shows.
Just
It
feels
running up the
very
building.
Matrix 3, but I think they handled it better than the Matrix 3 did. I don't know.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because it just shows the desperation of a Kryptonian who has absolutely nothing to live for. He's like, every action I take, no matter how violent, is for the greater good of my people. And now, I have no people.
It's weird because I just watched Into Darkness like last week, and so hearing this now and then watching Man of Steel, it's like, man, 2013 was full of villains trying to save their people. I don't know, you have to just a thought, just a quick thought.
The thing though, like you brought up Trilbee a bit about where Zod's mask sort of peels off. I think they should have saved that for the final fight. I think it should have been that they're fighting. Zod's mask starts to come off and he starts getting disoriented, so that's how Superman is able to stand his ground against a military-trained general.
I completely agree.
But then by the time when he rips off his suit and flies up and he's mastered his senses, then you'd really get the sense of like, okay, now you got to kill him because you're not going to have control of the situation for much longer. So I think they definitely should have taken that and moved that to the end. Yeah.
Because it works thematically as well if that's how Superman beats Zod in the end, because it shows Superman's humanity and his adapting to this new world as opposed to destroying it is what caused him to win.
Which fits in with the whole theme of that Zod, because he's genetically engineered, he cannot change, he cannot adapt. Superman's a natural birth. He can adapt. He is willing to change. And see, like there were a lot of great themes. I don't think they really connected them all the way through, though. And like I said, like Jonathan Kent makes a big deal about the whole thing of like, you being here is going to change the world, but that kind of doesn't really go ananywhere. Like, hopefully they'll do something with that in the next movie, but kind of a weird way to do it. Do you want to talk about Jonathan Kent's death?
Oh yeah, let's. Oh boy,
I've mentioned before in the video I made on my YouTube channel defending it that I reckon if they did that scene exactly as they did, but instead of Henry Cavill playing Superman, they used the actor who was the young Superman who pulled the bus out of the river. Just get that young actor, put him in that scene, do everything exactly the same. It'll work much better, much better. Because then it makes sense that he would rather die than have his son be revealed, because he's still too young. Can't handle it. But Henry Cavill, he's only like a few years away from being revealed anyway, so...
Yeah,
it goes back to that golfing metaphor of just a slight adjustment would have fixed that.
Yeah, it does very much feel like a whiny brat, and it's weird because he looks like he's like 35, but they're trying to make him look like he's 17, and like that doesn't work.
They gave him that fluffy hair thing,
Yeah, I just...
It's all Pa's Kent fault. He's holding me back.
Yeah.
From my perspective, my father is evil.
And it also doesn't make any sense. And like, it's like if there's a tornado, there's no way you would go hide in a bridge. You'd definitely go find a ditch. Because if you're underneath the bridge,
that's the worst place to hide, isn't it?
Yeah,
like
debris will fall on you. Yeah, and it'll suck you back out. So like, the smartest thing to do, honestly, is to go and like lay in the ground. But whatever. That's whatever. I can get past that. Or even
like they could have got around with Jonathan Kent going back to save the guy rather than Henry Cavill if they just had him say something like, because Henry Cavill, he's like, I'll get the dog, and then he's like, no, I'll do it. So you could have had Jonathan Kent say, no, you stay with your mother. Like he wants him to stay there and make sure his mother doesn't get sucked into the air. Like something like that would have fixed it.
He'd be like, your powers will save will keep your mother safe. I gotta go try and get the dog. Yeah. And to be fair, I would also try to save my dog. Because, I mean, people are always just like, why would you try and save the dog? Yeah. If we were in a tornado, I would try and save my dog. Especially since he's a farmer. And farmers... Yeah.
Animal death is just part of life as a farmer. You would not save a dog.
I like Mr. Sunday Movies. Since his dad would have just shot the dog on sight. That's okay.
He brought that up. Yeah, that's true.
His dad would have shot the dog. No, but like if I had the dog, I'd be like, I'm gonna go and try to save my dog. I'm being completely serious. I don't care what anyone says. Dogs cost a lot of money.
I would kick the dog in the face.
Oh my god! Oh yeah.
Whoa.
Reference to a couple episodes ago.
Yeah, it's a reference to.
But to
the people/meth dealers that live in Bandit's neighborhood. Yeah, so
who own a poodle for some reason. That's really weird. But and the thing as well with, there's no rule saying you have to kill Jonathan Kent at all, because his father does not die in the comics. Both his parents are alive in the comics.
Jonathan Kent dies.
Yeah,
well,
I think
depends
so.
on which continuity, but for a lot
he has a heart attack.
Yeah, he has a heart attack
in the original movie, not in the comics though. In the comics, he stays alive.
He has a heart attack in a lot of different continuities. I know.
But I'm just saying it depends on the continuity. But I'm just saying there's no rule that you have to kill Jonathan Kent in the first movie.
Maybe
why not
not
just keep
in this
him alive
movie,
for a while? If you want to kill him, save it to another movie when Darkseid shows up.
That's what I'm saying. I think if they were going to kill him, they should have killed him with the heart attack, because that whole scene. While I like it, I think it looks great. I think everyone's great in it. It's not the best way you could have handled that scene. Just have him have a heart attack. That's why, because that shows Superman cannot save everybody. That's the whole point of him having a heart attack in the first place.
Yeah, that's the point of the heart attack. He's got all these powers, but he can't stop something like that from happening. But like the tornado, that's something he definitely could have stopped. So the message is not as clear.
How cool would it have been if, like, I don't know, like, picture this, right? So it's a tornado, right? And Clark's like, his dad's like, no, Clark, I'll go and I'll save the dog. And then Clark like flies out and like pulls a flash and like flies fast enough to like stop the tornado. And then he's just like, thank you, son, you did it. You pulled it off. And he's like, let's go home, son. And so he walks out and then gets hit by a car. That's how I would do it.
But I think that you needed a natural disaster to kill Pa Kent, because then Superman can't snap its neck.
That's right.
But it has no neck to snap.
I like the fact that he kills. I like the fact that Superman. It shows Superman's. It shows that A, he's willing to go that far, but B, it allows him to have something not to. He doesn't want to ever do that again. At least that's what I hope happens in this next movie.
I like the idea, because people say, they should have established earlier on that Superman doesn't have a no killing rule, but he's new to the superhero thing. He doesn't even think about that as a rule, but they need to follow up on that.
A day and a half.
But they never say it. They should have done.
He's been Superman for like 36 hours. He has a lot. Like, there's not much. Granted, he should be raised well by the Kents, and I understand that argument as well of the Kent should raise him to be right, but in this universe, the way they set up the Kents, and I always like to have this kind of expectations versus what we actually get. And the same thing happens with Star Wars. We expect a Superman movie to be a certain way, but when it's not, there is outcry, there is backlash. I think Man of Steel was the definitive reboot of a Superman movie, because they took the Superman mythos and did something new with it, and I loved it. It was I still really enjoy this movie, more the first half than the second, but that's whatever.
They needed a moment after Zod's death to sort of establish that is the code that Superman has taken up. Instead, they do a really light-hearted scene where he destroys a drone.
Well, like, all he has to do,
and Green Lantern's girlfriend is like, he's kind of hot.
Yeah.
You're all right. You have to do is...
Hopefully he has the no-killing rule in the next movie because of what happened with Zod. Because if they don't do that, then it was kind of pointless,
Yeah, all you have to do is go back to it. Like, he goes back to his mom's house, and she's like, nice suit, son, or whatever. And he's like, I killed Mama, and she's like, it's okay, boy, you did what you have to do. And then he looked at his mom and says, never again, and then flies off. That's all he gotta do is like, never again.
And then Mark Kent can say, yeah, I think he's kind of hot.
Well,
he's not my biological son.
Or you have Mark Kent say, nah, man, just let him die. You don't owe this world a thing. You never did. No.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, boy. That's gonna cause some controversy.
I sure hope that line works in context.
I think it works fine out of context.
But
I think she's right. He doesn't owe this world a thing. He already saved the world once.
Well, he does owe the world a thing because he's a citizen of this world.
He already saved it once. What are they so angry about? Like, come on, guys.
With great power, responsibility, etc.
Responsibility, that's right.
But speaking of
you have a moral obligation to do that thing. Not
normal parents of normal kids who don't have superpowers are always like, try to help everyone do the right thing, but apparently she's just like, nah, you don't owe anyone anything. Don't save anybody. Let the kids in the bus die.
I could totally. That's not what he said. I could totally picture Ma Kent's being like, "But should we save him, son?" He's like, "Nah, just let him go. Let Batman handle it. Nah, you're fine. Don't worry about it, son. Let's go watch Grey's Anatomy."
Stay down, Batman. If I wanted it, you'd be dead already.
In fact, I do want it. Changes his mind right there.
Just turns him into Affleck.
You see Ma Kent in like a Empress robe, and she's just like, "Do it, son. Do it. Do it."
Do it!
Kill him.
So she takes on the Willem Dafoe role in Spider-Man. Avenge me!
Avenge me!
Hurry!
He takes like Palpatine, but like an older woman is Palpatine.
There's, there is also some like cool little sort of, I suppose you'd call them Easter eggs in this. Like, before the bus goes in the river, there's the bit where that other guy's hassling Superman, and the girl's like, leave him alone. And he's like, what are you, his girlfriend? And then later on, you hear the mother who's like, it was an act of God, that mother. And she goes, oh, Lana saw it too. And you're like, oh, so that's Lana Lang, who is Superman's girlfriend during his teenage years. So it was a cool little reference, like, what are you, his girlfriend? It's like, well, yeah, she is, actually.
Well, yeah.
Or she will be.
Yeah, and to be fair, I think the Man of Steel ending is one of the best endings to a comic movie ever. I can't tell you how giddy and excited I was to see things just kind of fall into place and the way they kind of ended it. Like, I remember I was in the theater. I was like, oh, man, this was really good. A little too much action, but I really enjoyed it. And then, like, Grand Metropolis somehow got fixed in, a couple days. A couple days.
Lex Luthor.
The movie, but they're going to explain that, so whatever.
That's why I think in the next movie they should say that Superman helped to rebuild the city, because that would really help to rehabilitate his image after.
He's on his bike. He gets into the elevator. He puts on the glasses. I'm just like, oh my god, he's got the glasses. And he walks in, and he's just like, I was like, oh my god, welcome to the planet. I was like, oh, I love that. I love that.
And I love that she doesn't say welcome to the Daily Planet. She says welcome to the planet.
Welcome to the planet. I love that.
Welcome to the planet.
And like the look she gives him. I can't wait till I wonder like what the next scene after that would be. Just like, you guys are like, you guys know each other? It's just kind of like, because they stare at each other for like 30 seconds, which is an awkwardly long time when you're surrounded by a bunch of people. But
hey, in a universe where they can't see past a pair of glasses, I'm sure no one would notice.
Have you guys seen that Jimmy Kimmel sketch?
We talked about it last week.
Yeah, we talked about it last week. It was great.
Sorry.
This is what happens when you miss a week, Trey.
Yeah, there you go. You're so far behind.
Well, I do at 2 o'clock on Mondays. I am at school, so you'll have to excuse me.
Yeah, well,
I told
you should have just played hooky and left. But hey, you decided to be responsible, so shame on you.
I did donate blood on Friday, so that was or Thursday. That was cool. I gave blood on Thursday. I feel kind of special.
Great.
Random thought. Yeah,
don't know what that has to do with anything, but okay.
I just brought it up. It completely jumped my mind. Anyways, Bandit, do you have any more thoughts on Man of Steel?
Oh yeah, I got loads more. I love the bit where he crucified the guy's truck.
I like that.
That was great. Yeah. Which a lot of people had a problem with, and I'm like, do you not remember when Christopher Reeve broke that guy's hand, sat him in a pie, and slid him down the thing after he lost a fight to him earlier?
That. Hey, remember when Christopher Reeve, his Superman killed a guy?
Yeah, three people,
and laughed about it.
He killed Zod and the other two
when
people.
He strangled himself. Do you remember Superman killed himself metaphorically in the third movie?
When he killed himself, he strangled himself.
Yeah.
But when Christopher Reeve killed Zod and the other two, they were actually depowered at that point. Because you watched the movie, he did the thing where the red solar lamps took their powers away. So it's even more unforgivable that he kills them then, because you could have just put him in prison with Lex at the end, but no, he kills them anyway. So how come nobody has a go at that? Because they fell into a cheaply made pit of dry ice? That makes it okay.
Yeah, because he didn't see the body actually physically die, but that's whatever. People are going to be like, well, in the deleted scene, we see them walk out. I'm like, no,
you don't.
That's not
canon.
canon.
See them walk out. I checked.
You don't.
It's just Lex Luthor.
God.
The Arctic police are up by the North Pole for some reason.
Yeah.
Oh, we needed that Kevin Smith scene when he's in the Arctic and he just fights some polar bears.
Well, because polar bears
are the most vicious animals in the animal kingdom.
That's right. Let me just say, for our listeners, if you haven't heard the whole Kevin Smith, because he was brought on to do a whole Superman Lives story, we won't go into it all, but just go to YouTube, type in Kevin Smith Superman Lives, and he tells the whole story behind the scenes of how he made it. And there's a lot of crazy things he was supposed to do in that. One is which Brainiac fights some polar bears. There is a polar bear in Man of Steel that you see, and there was a bit where Superman was supposed to fight a giant spider, and the world engine in this does look a lot like a spider that he fights.
Yeah. I remember I saw that. I was like, "Oh my god, there's actually a polar." Oh, wow, okay. and then you look like produced by John Peters. He was like, "Oh, okay, I understand now."
Can't Superman have a guard at the Fortress of Solitude? Why? It's the Fortress of Solitude. And why does he have a guard? He's Superman.
Yeah. What about one of Superman's guards? Why would Superman need guards? And it's the Fortress of Solitude. There's nobody else there.
Yeah. Oh, that John Peters.
Such a good story, though.
Actually, speaking about that, like, here's something I noticed with Man of Steel after the first time I watched it, and I actually realized something else watching it again in preparedness for this. Superman, like, when he finds the scout ship at the beginning of this, I was like, oh, cool, so he flies that to a different spot, and I'm like, that's going to be his Fortress of Solitude now. But by the end of the movie, Superman's lost all of his Kryptonian technology. He's lost his baby shuttle, because he threw it at Zod's ship, so Zod's ship is gone too. The little key that had the Jor-El hologram, that was in the baby ship, so he's lost Jor-El. There was a backup of Jor-El saved in the scout ship. Zod deletes that, so no more Russell Crowe. Goodbye, Russell Crowe. And then the scout ship crashes into the city at the end. And I was like, how's he going to build his Fortress of Solitude now? Like, I was waiting for a scene when he crashes the drone at the end for the military guy to go, hey, you know, what happened to that ship that crashed in the city? He's like, oh yeah, I took it because it's mine now. But there isn't. And even if there is, get a load of this, right? Even if he does get the wreckage of that scout ship and turn that into the Fortress of Solitude, since he doesn't have his family's key to activate any of the technology, he can't turn it on. But Zod's key was in that. Which means, even if he does get the scout ship, if he wants to start using the technology, it'll be working under Zod's rules. We might even get a hologram of Zod instead of Jor-El. And I was like, you could actually do
a butler Zod. Yeah,
but that might be a way to work in Brainiac, because maybe in Zod's key he had the Brainiac program or something.
Well, now that's two villains that have become from Zod.
I was going to say,
they're already doing Doomsday from Zod's body. Like, you know,
That's true,
I'm not trying to shoot you down. I'm just saying, like, I can see the complaints now. Oh, they're just wasting the Amazing Spider-Man, Sony.
You're right, and that's a bigger problem with, like, Superman as a whole. They've retconned it in the comics a couple of times because he's supposed to be the last son of Krypton, but they keep bringing all these people from Krypton. There's a whole city of Kandor that survived.
Yeah,
Zod's there. Yeah, you know, Faora now, she's actually in the comics as well. Brainiac comes from there, Doomsday comes from there, so they did retcon it in the comics that definitively he is the last one. So yeah.
I still want to see Brainiac though. I would love to see who should be Brainiac.
But he doesn't have to be Kryptonian because his origins have been changed plenty of times.
Who would you have play Brainiac if they were to put him in the sequel? Or
Kevin
in a future movie? I was about to say Kevin Spacey. I was totally about to say Kevin Spacey.
I thought you were saying Kevin Smith at first.
Bandit, airway high five. Airway high five. Bam.
Yeah.
All right, good job.
There we go.
All right, because that was a. Shelby, we're on the same wavelength. Where are you coming from, man? Come on, man. Gotta catch up.
I'm sorry. I was thinking Patrick Stewart, but okay.
Patrick Stewart would be. I don't know. I would feel like if you tried talking, I would just hear Professor X just like talking forever.
That is true.
You know something else, like keeping on the subject of the scout ship, something else I thought they were going to do when I was watching the movie is when they first find the scout ship and they say the ice that the scout ship is in is 20,000 years old. And then when Jor-El, the hologram Jor-El shows up, he says this is just one of many ships sent out as space exploration. So presumably then 20,000 years ago, Kryptonians did set up a colony on Earth. So when they said that, I was like, they're probably going to make it that humans are the descendants of those Kryptonians, which is why Superman looks like us. And I thought they were going to tie it into Zod's, like, you know, they're an inferior bloodline, but no, they didn't do anything with it. So,
well,
strange.
Humans have been around for more than 20,000 years, haven't they? Unless I'm thinking about things.
Well, when you
change it or whatever,
in the movie, there's a scene where Superman finds a opened up pod, and there's a prequel comic where Supergirl comes out of that pod. So people are theorizing that Supergirl landed there 20,000 years ago, and she starts up the Amazonian warriors.
I don't want that to happen.
I heard that theory. Yeah.
But that's not confirmed or anything. That's just a theory.
I think it's better off when it's tied into the Greek gods. I think that's when it's worked better.
Yeah.
She doesn't have to be made of clay, but I think it's worked better when it's tied into the Greek gods. I'm so not excited for Wonder Woman right now. I don't know why, but like my Wonder Woman excitement has my excitement for Wonder Woman has died down so much. When that footage came out, I wasn't impressed. I haven't been impressed with Gal Gadot so far. Patty Jenkins hasn't made a good movie in 12 years. I don't know if the last thing she made wasn't it Monster? I don't know. But it's been I don't know. I'm not excited for Wonder Woman.
I still believe, I mentioned this in one of my videos, but I still believe since Man of Steel with the Phantom Zone established that in this universe you can have pocket dimensions. So I think, because in the comics, the Amazons live on this island that for some reason no one has ever discovered before. That's a little bit ridiculous in today's modern age to say that. So I pitched the idea where I think you should make it that instead the Amazons are like in a pocket dimension, but the portal that leads to it is on an island. So it's still kind of like the Amazons are on an island, but it's a bit more plausible than that. And same thing with Aquaman, like Atlantis isn't at the bottom of the ocean, it's in a pocket dimension, but the portal leading to it is at the bottom of the ocean. So I'd like something like that. Okay. Anyway, that's just my fan fiction.
I could see. I don't know. I just think that I'm more excited for because isn't Peter Thewlis in or David Thewlis, excuse me, in this movie, who played Lupin in Harry Potter, and he was in Anomalisa. I think he's in the new Wonder Woman movie.
I think
I think it'd be great if they got him to play Ares. I don't know, because he has a presence about him, and I haven't seen him in a villain role before, so I'd like to see him in a kind of that villain role. Cause he's got a nice voice to him.
Love David Thewlis.
Yeah, he's good.
Love
he's
that
good.
guy.
All right, Bandit. More. You have any more notes?
Oh, yep. I got plenty.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Well, that's
the
what we're basing this on now.
Did you guys like how subtle the symbolism was when Superman's in the church and he's got a picture of Jesus right next to his face, and he's having the conversation of, can one man sacrifice himself for all of humanity? It's like, it's like nostalgia critics like, I can't hear you over your obvious symbolism.
I can't hear you off all your metaphors. Yeah.
See, I saw that movie. That was Hail Caesar, where one man took on all of the sins of everybody.
Shut up.
I just pushed the Hail Caesar button.
Yeah, that's not.
But there's a lot of cool ideas in the movie, though. Like, sorry, Trey, I cut you off. I was going to move on to the Dream Machine, but sorry, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to quickly touch on because that's a good stuff, Dream Machine, but quickly the Jesus thing, it's like, Superman's kind of always been an allegory for Jesus and Moses and all that stuff. He's always kind of been a religious allegory.
Yeah.
Like from the, like,
almost kind of made, from the get-go. He was made by two Jewish guys.
By two Jewish kids.
But now he's somehow
and he was going to be originally he was going to be a bad guy until I think one of them was Canadian, and he was like, let's make him a hero. But the American wanted him to be a villain, kind of like Lex Luthor. But so granted, it's a little annoying, the whole Jesus imagery, but that shot of him going to Earth, like when he jumps out of when he like leaps out of the ship and he like does like the Jesus pose, that shot just looks so beautiful. I don't know about you guys, but like that, every time I see that scene, I get goosebumps. Like, man, that's cool.
It's so heavy-handed.
I think when he floats out of the ship, that's subtle enough. The church is just beating you over the head with the symbolism.
I will give you the church, but I think
I think when he graciously floats, not graciously, what's the word? When he elegantly floats out of the ship like that, I think that's kind of stuff is okay.
I mean, the choir's kind of going. The choir's kind of going like, oh, at that point. So you're like,
you can save them all, my son.
You can. You know? It's such a great scene, though. You can save all of them. He just flies that ship. I clap every time I see the scene. Like, that's so well done. Good job, Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
Good job. Yeah, but okay, Dream Machine.
Yeah, the Dream Machine. Now, again, this is another thing where Zack Snyder goes, "Oh, that's a cool idea," throws it in, doesn't try to explain it or figure out how it's gonna fit in. How does the Dream Machine work? Is it just because he breathes in the air It makes him pass out, and then he wakes up in dreamland. And she says later on they did something to her mind. You never see him attaching wires to their heads or anything like that. So how did they do that? Is it going to come out again in the next movie?
Here's my theory. Okay. So he's in the he's put under the ship, right? And he's trying to breathe in Kryptonian air that's killing him. It's essentially the kryptonite of this movie is the Kryptonian atmosphere.
Yeah, which I liked. I like giving him as many Achilles heels as you can is good.
Yeah. It's good. And so I think when he passes out, they stick him in a chamber. Maybe that chamber itself is the dream machine. Maybe the chambers that they put them in itself is what the dream machine is. Maybe that's why there's no need to put wires on him. I like the dream machine. Maybe they could have explained it more, sure. But everything with Zod, when he's sinking to the pit of skulls, he's like, wait, stop, no. It's like, the whole farm gets like wiped out. Zod's cape's blowing in the wind. I think it was all. Once again, it looks great. Trilbee, what do you think about the dream machine, Shirley?
Dream is trippy stuff. Because there's that scene where he's talking to Zod in that dream state, and he's just surrounded by the sea of skulls.
Yeah. I loved that. I loved that.
Because when I saw that in the trailer, because they show the shot of him just being swallowed by these skulls, and I thought that maybe a load of people riding to Superman's defense and just got laser visioned and destroyed, and only he survived.
Dude.
So, but then when that actually happened in the movie, I was like, oh, that's not as cool, but it's still pretty cool.
That would have been very dark if they were to do that.
I know. I will accept the paycheck.
Well, if Lex Luthor, sorry, just a quick thing. If Lex Luthor has the scout ship and gets whatever this dream machine is, maybe that's responsible for these nightmare sequences that we see in Batman v Superman. Just throwing it out.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool. It has the same filter over it too, the same kind of
it has that same kind of You could imagine like Mad Max Batman sinking into skulls, going ah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Alfred. Yeah.
You just see like thousands of versions of his parents lying dead everywhere. He'd be like ah.
He's just surrounded by pearls, just like broken pearls and bullets, and
Actually, that makes sense because the. Actually, Darkseid's parallax, or whatever they're called, they actually do look a bit like bats, and he's afraid of bats. So that'd all tie in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be a good nightmare for Batman.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry, Trilbee, I cut you off. You were talking about.
I lost my train of thought, but you did remind me of.
Does that?
You did remind me of awesome hologram Russell Crowe directing Lois Lane throughout the ship.
Oh,
guy behind you.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a big fan of Russell Crowe.
Nostalgia Critic has a great in this review when he talks about it's like a video game. And it's like arrows pointing. It's like this way. It's like a point and click kind of game.
I love the whole skit he does with the Dream Machine in his review, where he's like, "A foundation must be built on something." Skulls everywhere. This isn't going to make you want to help us. Run the happy program. And it changes to like dandelions and unicorns. He's like, yes,
yes,
much better.
Yes,
this will happen to Earth.
Admire the skulls as we destroy your planet. Yes, look at the pretty flowers. It's like, look at this, Miss Lane.
Isn't that adorable?
The good of this
nostalgic. Then they do it to Lois Lane. There's a bit where he's like, "See, Miss Lane, all this will be yours if you give us the information we require. Even the unicorn riding the marshmallow
Even the
rainbow?
pretty Pegasus?
Yes.
Yeah. Even the pretty Pegasus. Yeah.
I've got to rewatch that review now.
It's so great.
Guys, come back to me in half an hour. I'm going to watch this review.
What did you guys get bothered by the whole thing of why do they bring Lois up to the ship? Because it never really bothered me. I was like, well, they're bringing her up to the ship in case he's not cooperating. They can use her as leverage. Or if they can't get information out of him, they can get it out of her. So
every villain ever, get the girl. Why? Because the girl is next. It's close to the hero, so we're going to take the girl. Fine.
Yeah, makes sense.
Exactly. All right.
And I guess like she has put the report out that she knew who Superman was, so of course they're going to want her.
Yeah,
she knows more about it.
Yeah, she knows. She put it in the paper of how she. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Next point, Bandit.
There's the bit where so I'm going through my list.
Can I have a point? One thing I love, I think...
Sure. No, Trilby, no points. No.
Okay. I think that this is one of Hans Zimmer's best scores. I love the music.
Yes.
the iconic John Williams Superman theme, like da 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 da, like that's really heroic and triumphant. But I think it's called Arcade on the soundtrack, like dun 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 dun. Like, because it keeps on building, it keeps on adding more and more layers, but it never feels overbearing or cluttered, and you just get the sense that it's sort of it's limitless. It just keeps on building, but never peaks, just like Superman's power. And it's one of Hans Zimmer's best themes, and I think it does really. Too loud! Put the mix down! But I do think it's one of Hans Zimmer's best scores, and it's
I agree.
one of the best Superman themes. Probably it is up there with John Williams.
I like the end credits song of
the flight music when he's flying.
Let's talk about that flying scene. That's great.
This is why
I love this first half of this movie, because scenes like that are just like, there you go. This is what we can do with modern technology and Superman. He clenches his fists. The debris is like floating around him. It just like takes off. Oh, it was so beautiful. Like that's the shot we see in the trailer. His eyes roll back. He closes his eyes, and he's taking in the sun rays, and I gotta watch that scene.
Yeah, and he flies over like Africa, and all of the deer disperse, and it's just a wonderful sequence.
Yeah, and then he goes into space, a little homage to Christopher Reeve when he flies to the camera.
Winks to the camera.
Dude, that's how the movie should end. Flies to the camera, like how it should have ended. Yeah, how it should have ended, made out with Lois, saved the day, made out with Lois, went to the camera and flew away.
In the first trailer, that first trailer, when he breaks the sound barrier at the very end, it gave me chills. And that's one reason why I was kind of disappointed with the movie, because it was less of that.
I think because when the movie does stuff like that is where it really works. And that's why, I think most of that stuff is in that first half, is in that first maybe hour and a half, is where we get the origin, we get the Superman, the iconic Superman stuff, we get that great Smallville fight, might sell the product placement, but that's whatever, you got to make your money somehow, and then even though it is pretty shameless,
as well as military subsidiaries.
Yeah, but as the movie goes on, we get it becomes a Zack Snyder movie, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it just felt lifeless to me. Like, I think Jimmy Johns put it great to where, when Superman's in the Indian Ocean fighting the other world engine, and he says, how great would it have been if maybe instead of him fighting the tentacles, the rays coming down, it's too much, and then he hears maybe his father's voice of like, you can inspire the world or whatever, do some other inspirational speech, and then he gets the strength to go up and destroy the machine, as opposed to him fighting tentacles or some stuff.
I just think Man of Steel needed more levity. Like, I think the only time he really smiles in the Superman costume is during that first flight scene.
Yeah.
Because his dad's are just like pontificating on all the morals of being a hero and what this world needs. And I just wanted like Ma to show up and be like, you're Superman. Come on, you're cool.
Well, she does have the bit where she's like, nice suit, son.
I like
that was a funny bit.
See, I like nice suit. He's like, I love the suit, and I love how chill she was that her whole home just got destroyed. She's like, yeah, we'll rebuild it. It's
just things, just belongings.
She's a very chill person.
Well, she does. Well, it's funny because that scene happens after half of Smallville gets nuked, and after she's been choked out by Feora, and then Superman comes back and is like, hey, apparently that codex can bring all my people back, and she's like, isn't that a good thing? It's like, no. It's not. No, have you just seen what just happened? No, it's not a good thing. Because that's like when you think about what Jor-El's plan was, he wanted to bring, let's say if he got what he wanted, and Superman was the bridge between two worlds, and then 1,000 Kryptonians show up. That's not a good thing. That's a terrifying concept. We could tolerate one guy. Yeah. We could tolerate Superman being there, but if there was 1,000 Kryptonians, I do not think that would be a good thing at all for humanity.
Did you guys like the Christopher Reeve cameo that they had in the?
Yeah.
Did you ever?
I spotted.
Did you guys like
that?
that?
When was that?
Yeah, when I first saw it, what we're talking about here, Trilbee?
Nope.
Okay, well, in the scene where the world engine, and he has to try to destroy the world engine, but it's just a bunch of Kryptonian atmospheres, and he has to try to fly
when he's standing in the beam and he's slowly looking up and gathering his strength, his face, they digitally morphed his face into Christopher Reeves for a few seconds.
Yeah.
I'm just going to try and find that clip now. I'm just going to try and find it.
I recognized it actually when he looked up. I was like, "Oh, they've changed him to Christopher Reeve. It looked really good."
Is this after he's been fighting the tentacles?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's right. It's right before he flies. I just sent you the picture. It's right when he flies up.
Okay.
And, Well, I couldn't find the full thing. I looked at the clip while you guys were talking about it. I think that was a very nice touch. In moments like that, we needed more things like that. It was I don't know, just things like that. It's warmed my heart. I'm like, oh, R.I.P. Christopher Reeve.
What about that bit where Jenny Olsen at the end is talking to the guy from House of Cards? The House of Cards guy is like, hey, you want to go to this, hockey game with me? She's like, no. He's like, I did almost die trying to save you from that wreckage.
We definitely all died trying to save you because you trying to save you, piece of wood, from dying. And
he's like, I could have just turned around and ran off and left you there to die, but I continued to try to save you, even though it was virtually hopeless. Yeah, it could show a little.
So the least you could do is come watch. Least you could do is come watch a basketball game with me. Come on, guy. Come on.
Yeah.
I'm paying for it, aren't I?
Seats, as he says.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I don't know how he got those seats, but that's awesome.
Yeah.
Hopefully Bane's not there. Basketball court. This ball is up. This ball is no ball.
The basketball court just collapses and sinks into the ground.
Watch me miss this three-pointer.
He's going to activate the bomb. Superman just flies in, breaks his neck, goes away, winks at the camera, kisses Lois Lane.
Yeah, movie's over. Yeah. Those are stupid. Yeah. Okay. More notes, Bandit?
Yeah. I've got pretty much everything I had here. The only other two things I had left to take the notes was after the oil rig blows up and destroys. There's a bit when we get our first flashback, and then when it cuts back, and Superman's like floating underwater, and you see two whales swim past. And I thought, I wonder if they're going to make it that those whales sort of relayed back to Aquaman. Hey, there's this weird superpowered being on the surface. Because essentially anything that a fish sees, Aquaman will know.
Going back to, first of all, whales aren't fish, but going back to how it should have ended. That how it should have ended joke.
Oh, they're mammals. Oh.
They are!
You, Mr. Discovery Channel.
Hey, look, Shark Week is very important to me. No, but it's like in the how it should have ended, Clark's floating in the water when he's having a flashback, and Aquaman's just like, hey, you having a flashback there, thinking about your past? I'll just be over here. Justice League. It just kind of like
I just got this image of Aquaman in Atlantis, gets on his throne, and then a whale comes along and it's like, "Hey, Aquaman, there's a guy in the water. Should we go get him?"
He's got like a bro voice of like, "Hey man, Aquaman, there's this thing over here, dude." And he's like, Aquaman's just like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, and this thing's blew up." Well, what? Where? Yeah, this oil rig. He's like, "Oh, great." he's sitting there next to his Khaleesi, and just nothing happened. Yeah, sorry. How cool
that's bad. Some green police officer guy just beat me up.
straight out of Atlantis. Okay, so how great would it be if they got? How great would it be if they got Emilia Clarke to play Mera? Since they got Jason Momoa to play Aquaman, and you get Khaleesi to play the wife of a king to play the queen. Game of Thrones.
I'd be down with that actually. Although she'd have to dye her hair red because she's supposed to have red hair in the comics.
Just get a wig. Just get a wig.
And then they get Jai Courtney to play Poseidon.
You can get out of here. No one wants it.
Straight out of here.
Got to get Arnold Schwarzenegger in somewhere,
He plays I forgot the villain's name, not Mirror Master, something like that. Not that. I'm thinking of another guy. Never mind. Taskmaster. Yeah. No. Maybe it's him.
The only other thing I've got is here's the last thing in my notes I've got is this is the kind of thing where Zack Snyder's really good. Is he gets stuff like there's the bit at the end where another flashback at the end. You see Jonathan Kent watching the young Clark Kent run around, and Clark Kent's wearing like a red cape thing. I think it's a red towel, and he's wearing it like a cape, and he's doing his Superman thing. But people have been like, well, if he is Superman in this universe, then who's he trying to imitate? But Zack Snyder has said he's just being Kryptonian, because all Kryptonians wear capes. So he's just sort of channeling his DNA. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. See, Zack Snyder's good at stuff like that.
When I was a little kid, I never, before I ever I didn't get into comic books until maybe I was like 5 or 6 years old. But there's videos and pictures of me being 3 years old wearing a cape, and I had no idea who Superman was, as far as I can remember. I mean, listen, I mean, like, you know, I don't know. People are so annoying.
DNA trait.
Thank you. People are so annoying. Zack Snyder makes a really emotional, powerful scene about a boy aspiring to become a hero, and the first thing people do is criticize it, and it's annoying.
I mean, Train, when you were born, your mum was like, he'll be an outcast, they'll kill him. And your dad said, how? He'll be a god to them. Oh, I wish Russell Crowe was my dad.
I don't. because like, I'll make a mess and he'll throw a phone at me or something, so I can't, yeah, he threw a phone at somebody. People seem to forget that. Well, he threw a phone.
Well, he's Aussie. Come on, but
yeah, exactly comes with the territory.
That's right. He's just holding up the bit for Australia. But Russell Crowe actually said in one of the Man of Steel interviews, he was talking about because his kid was like, because I think he's got like three sons or something, but his youngest son was like after seeing Man of Steel, he's like, so you're Superman's dad? And he's like, yeah, I'm Superman's dad. And he goes, and you know what that makes you, right? And the kid's sitting there thinking, then his eyes suddenly widen and he goes, oh, Superman's brother. And he's like, that's my boy.
Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, that's a good thought.
Oh, one last thing I was going to say. Homework assignment for everyone here. If you're watching Man of Steel, if you think, like we all know Zack Snyder's a really great visual director, there's a really awesome shot in the Man of Steel fight between Zod and Superman that nobody's ever noticed before. In the moment where Zod grabs Superman by the cape and he spins him round and round and round, and right before he releases him, where he throws him and he goes through like 5 buildings, right at the moment he releases him, if you pause it and watch that in slow motion, that shot...
his eye.
Yeah.
Oh,
the shot actually starts right in the pupil of Superman's eye, and you see Zod's reflection in the pupil of his eye, and it zooms out from there as Superman flies away from the camera and goes through the buildings. And it's only there for like a fraction of a second, but it's there, and it's an image that looks like something from a panel from a comic book, and it's amazing. Zack Snyder's great at stuff like that.
But the movie still sucks because the movie still sucks because there's too much action.
And he's a Gary Stowe.
And he's a Gary Steele. And it's too much like the Superman 2. This movie's stupid. You should be, if you're not a true Superman fan, if you like this movie's trash.
But I do think that the humor in Man of Steel really falls flat.
Just like the critics said that The Dark Knight Returns destroyed the Batman character. No, it actually defined it.
Yeah.
It set
you really called it there, Mr. Critic. You really called it there. Good job.
Same thing here.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe not exactly the same thing here.
Essentially.
Sorry, Trilbee.
Well, I mean, essentially. Sorry, go ahead, Trilbee. Go ahead.
Well, like the humor in the film is like it really falls flat. Like when they have their first kiss, it's always downhill after the first kiss. It's like
I like that.
Well, what are you on about? But then when the school bus is crashing,
that only applies if you're kissing a human," said the British Prime Minister.
Oh, politics. But there's the bit where the school bus crashes, and before it goes off the bridge, the stop signals come out of it. I'm like, it's funny because all the kids are about to die. And when they're having the fight with Superman and Zod at the end,
excuse me? Can you repeat yourself, please?
That's going to be taken out of context. I look forward to next week's Traitor. And when it comes to Superman and Zod's fight at the end, when they're on the construction site, Superman gets thrown into a sign that says 106 days since the last accident. Yeah. He hits it and knocks out the 1 and the 6. I'm just thinking, funny joke, but this is like life and death, world-ending stuff.
I didn't catch any of these.
If you try to ignore the fact that there's thousands of people dying elsewhere in the city right now, it's actually pretty funny.
Yeah.
Obviously, Superman has no trouble erasing that from his mind while he's fighting.
I really enjoyed whenever the world ending starts going at it, and people start dying and things start going wrong. I enjoyed how dark it got. It's straight up just people are being raised in the air and crushed. People are it's horrible. You're watching.
I respect that for the same reason that I don't respect a lot of the Marvel movies, because you very rarely see civilian casualties, or if you do, it happens off screen. You hear about it later. They very
didn't see that coming.
They very, very carefully shield people from the actual consequences of what's happening. But this, they showed it, and I like that.
Which is why I was really excited when I saw the Age of Ultron trailer, and I saw Cap try to grab the car, and like the brake, or like the end part of the car breaks off, and the car just falls down the cliff. I was like, oh man, they're gonna go dark with this.
And
but then you watch the scene, just like he gets saved by Thor. How cool would it have been if that car just fell? That would have been awesome, because you're like, man, this is really getting serious. But
Zack Snyder would have had that car fall. He would have had just endless cars falling to their death.
I was about to say,
and
they would have
just sitting there, just drinking a Coke, going, "Wow, that sucks." Just watching them fall. You know,
and Iron Man's in the IHOP because breaking necks.
Yes, he's in the IHOP.
And Cap's like, I'm supposed to do something dying, and Tony Stark's like, I don't know, maybe.
No, maybe. You know what? I think they'd all step in to save the IHOP from being destroyed.
In Age of Ultron, when he says, get in the bathtub, get in the IHOP.
Get the IHOP. It's like, get in the IHOP. Where's Bruce? Bruce, you guys might not be playing hide the Sears. Guys, where'd you guys go? Just like, they're chilling next to a 7-Eleven.
So what would you guys give as a rating for Man of Steel overall? Like, say out of 10 or whatever, or 5 stars, or whatever you want to rate it with.
Okay, I will give it. I like to be very specific with my rating to people who don't like it, but that's whatever. I'll go 8.2 out of 10, which is like 4.1 out of 5. So 8.2 out of 10. I still
16.4 out of 20.
You know what, Trilbee? I'm not good at math, so I don't have time for that. I really enjoyed the movie. Despite its flaws, I think that first hour and a half is so good that, even though it falls off when the action starts to really go down, there's still some things to find in there that you can really enjoy. The score is great. Everyone's great in it. It's wonderful. All right.
Yeah, I'd give it about an 8 out of 10 because, just like I said, just a few adjustments, like streamlining the story a bit, handling the tones just a little bit better, and polishing up some of the writing. It could have easily got a 10, I reckon. But so I'd say about an 8 out of 10.
But that's Zack Snyder for you. There's always going to be certain things that he just doesn't want to do as a filmmaker. Is all.
Yeah, I always feel with Zack Snyder movies, it's like, when they're trying to put at the beginning when they're all doing a brainstorming session, they're like, we should do this, we should do that, we should do that. And he's like jotting down all the good ideas. But then when it comes to actually making the movie, he's like, doesn't want to. He's like, oh, but that's so good. I still want to have that in. It's like, I think he needs to learn to focus on, like, okay, this is what the movie's about. So if it's a cool idea, but if it doesn't fit in with this, just get rid of it. Streamline. Zack Snyder.
Yeah, it is overthought, I think. Like, when I first saw Man of Steel, I gave it 8 out of 10. And because I've not rewatched it since then. I've not seen Man of Steel for like 3 years. And I liked it quite a bit, but there just so many things that just niggled at me. Like when
what'd you say?
Niggled. It's a British phrase.
It's okay. I'm just messing with you. What is that? What is that?
Hey, like they just got at me a little bit. Just nitpicks continually throughout. But because for example, when Superman shows himself to the public for the first time, he doesn't go to the government or anyone of authority. He goes to the military. I think something just didn't quite sit right with me there for some reason, and then I realized, military subsidies. They probably paid for most of the movie to use the equipment, just things like that. True, yeah. I probably go for a 7 because there are some great things in it, but it just keeps on getting undercut. And I think if it had been more streamlined, if it had been more focused, it could have been a 10. It could have been the equivalent of The Dark Knight, or I don't.
Absolutely. Yeah, no one's mad at you, Trilbee. No one here is mad at you.
In terms of ranking the Superman movies, this one's right in the middle. Better than 3. No, there isn't no middle because there's 6 of them. It's better than Returns 3 and 4, but I rate Superman 1 and 2 above it.
Yeah, I'd say it's on par with Superman 2. I still really like the first Superman movie just because it's a classic. I think it's on par with 2 for me.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
So let me put in
one more thing. Sorry. Because Batman v Superman's going to open with Superman sort of paying for the destruction of Metropolis. Do you think that was actually planned? Because I don't believe that at all.
I don't think it was planned at all.
I feel like Batman v Superman is going to be so much course correction from Man of Steel.
I think certain things that we're going to see in this movie are planned. I think Lex Luthor rebuilding the city was planned.
Yeah,
I think that's where they were going with it from the get go. I think Batman was where Zack Snyder always wanted to take it next. Because even though, like, cause, they say in that meeting, he's like, well, the next step is Batman. So I think Zack Snyder has always wanted to do Batman after he did Superman. So maybe not fighting wasn't the next step, but I'm almost certain he wanted to do Batman next.
Yeah.
And, the whole Wayne Enterprises Easter egg. I think, certain things definitely were planned from the start.
Yeah, I think that if they were going to...
I personally don't think any of it was planned, because I think they just wanted to see how it would be received, but they put in Easter eggs that could have gone in any direction. There was a Doomsday Easter egg, there was a Brainiac Easter egg, the whole thing of the pod being open on the scout ship.
Yeah.
Apparently there's an Aquaman symbol on the burning oil rig, so I think they just stuck in as many Easter eggs as they could, and then they figured based off what the audience reaction will be, that's where we'll go. And since most people hated the disaster porn, they've gone with the whole thing of Batman being like, I'm going to make him pay for that.
Yeah, because I think
it's similar to what he did with Marvel did with Thor. Whenever you walk down that hallway in the first Thor movie, and there's the Eye of Agamotto is there, and
exactly,
and Infinity Gauntlet. People that's the I see what you're saying. All right,
because I think if there was going to be any repercussions for the collateral damage to Metropolis, they would have at least have one offhand mention of it before the credits, but there is none.
Yeah,
so I think that Batman v Superman is almost going to act like a soft reboot, kind of like Amazing Spider-Man 2 was a soft reboot of the Amazing Spider-Man universe. Because if you watch that film, the entire tone has changed. Basically, entire plot points have either been dropped or are contradicted completely. Like, I'm not saying that Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Batman v Superman are going to be the same level in terms of quality. I've not seen it yet, but I think that...
I put that more to lazy writing than just a soft reboot. I think that's just because Kurtzman and Orci have no idea how to write a movie anymore.
Correct.
Since the first Star Trek movie, they just kind of stopped writing good movies. So
I don't even think they started. Personally,
I love the first Star Trek. I think the first Star Trek is great.
Someone has to.
All right.
So shall we go to our listener questions?
On that
note,
let's
go to listener questions.
Excuse me, I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Okay, all right, so this is the listener question segment, in which case, if you don't know, every week on Facebook and Twitter, we ask for you guys' listener questions, in which case you ask a question, and if it's good enough, we answer it on the podcast and give you a little shout-out. So what's first here, Bandit?
Well, as a segue from our discussion of Man of Steel, on the Movie Mania Facebook page, I put up a poll, which is kind of becoming a thing. I like putting up polls. This one said, question for our Man of Steel podcast. If Man of Steel Superman had to fight the evil Superman from Superman 3, where he fights himself, who would win? It was a landslide. 76% said Man of Steel would kill evil Superman.
Yeah.
Only 76?
I know. I thought it would be closer.
Yeah, there were some.
There were some hopeful. Said, Man of Steel Superman will probably gnaw the heart out of evil Superman's flesh, and then proceed to strip the flesh. So there we go.
Wow. So we have dismemberment and flaying from Man of Steel Superman.
I guess the thing is, because evil Superman, if Clark Kent could kill the evil Superman so they can merge again, then Man of Steel Superman would have no problem murdering evil Superman. Snap his neck immediately.
Yeah, just snap his neck.
Plus, evil Superman is probably drunk all the time, so he does a lot of drinking in that movie.
Just light him on fire. Light him on fire at that point. Yeah.
Yes. So what other questions have we got from our listeners?
Okay, well, okay. Sorry, I was not prepared. Let me just... Okay, I got one. Okay, Ethan Mai, I think that's it there, right on Facebook. He says, what first comes to your mind when I say underrated movie?
My mind works slowly, so it may take me a while.
Gears are turning.
Do.
I've always thought Jumper was an underrated movie. You know, the teleporting Anakin Skywalker movie. I've always thought that was underrated. I don't know why everyone hated it so much. And it was ahead of the curve.
Go back and watch it.
I've watched it plenty of times. It was ahead of the curve with the idea of like a superhero that doesn't want to act like a superhero. You know, that wasn't a thing back then, but this started, and then Hancock came out a bit after that, and then Megamind came out a bit after that. So like it was on the right sort of trend. It wasn't a monster. It was just ahead of the curve. See?
Callback.
Movie that's like complete and utter. Look, there's some good elements in it. I don't know if I would consider it a good movie.
But it's
I think
underrated.
Sam Jackson's pretty good in it. I think
underrated.
underrated inclines that it should get more appreciation than it does, and I don't think it should. That's just my opinion. So,
okay, well, tell me what you think's underrated, and I'll tell you why it's not.
ladies.
Force Awakens.
I mean,
huh?
I guess I was not going to say The Force Awakens. I honestly
poor
can't.
Force Awakens. Look at the $2 billion it made. Ooh.
Look at that 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. People hated it.
There you go, Trilbee. That's the comment I was looking for. I honestly can't think of one right now. I guess Edge of Tomorrow is one that still doesn't get enough love these days.
Yeah.
As much as the internet always says, go out and love this movie. Everyone should love this movie. People still aren't seeing it, I don't think. Also, the studio Leica, who did that movie Coraline, they did another film called Paranorman. That's and I talked about this before on the podcast. That's really good. I don't know if you've ever heard of this, Trilbee. A movie called Paranorman.
Actually, I was going to bring this up when we were talking between segments and stuff. But how good is the trailer for Kubo and the Two Strings?
Thank you. Someone agrees.
God
We talked
damn
about
it,
this a couple
Bandit!
weeks
Why are
on
you
the
so
podcast.
boring?
I don't know what that
Kubo
is.
and the Two Strings is one of my favorite trailers of this year so far.
Yeah, it's really good. And Paranorman is one of my favorite movies out there. Not enough people have seen that movie.
I respect Paranorman more than I like it. I prefer Coraline, and I love the box trolls.
I don't like the box. I think the box trolls is bland and boring. But I love what they're trying to get across to the box trolls, the kind of racial themes that I think they're trying to pull off there. But I really like Paranorman's issue on bullying, and I love the fight between him and that one chick at the end. But I do love Coraline. But anyways, underrated movie is probably Paranorman. What about you?
For me, one movie that I absolutely love, unabashedly, is The Incredible Hulk from 2008.
Oh, yeah, that is totally underrated.
Because it's the dark horse of the MCU. But I actually think that apart from the Avengers, it's the best movie of Phase 1. I'm going to go that far.
I put it in my top 3.
It's still not it's not perfect. There are some problems, of course. But in terms of personal enjoyment, it gets a 10 out of 10 from me. Because in terms of enjoyment, it's not objective quality and filmmaking and everything.
It's really good.
I think it has the best action of Phase 1. I think Louis Leterrier, the director, he needs better work because he's just done The Brothers Grimsby. And you can tell that movie was just destroyed in the editing room without his knowledge. And I think that Edward Norton is brilliant in the role. The music by Craig Armstrong. Oh my God, the music's so good.
I don't even remember the music.
Go on to listeners, look up The Flower, the track from the Incredible Hulk soundtrack by Craig Armstrong. The music is sublime. The special effects surprisingly hold up. The Hulk smash moment at the end is a fist bump of joy.
Yeah,
it works so well, and I think that it is one of the movies that does what it's kind of like what Man of Steel tried to do in terms of this grandiose symbolism and moments where Hulk it more draws from like Greek mythology as opposed to Christ. Just these huge monster moments that define heroes. And I think like when he takes down the helicopter and he shields Betty from the flames, when he throws the rock at the lightning, there were just some great primal moments in The Incredible Hulk. And I think that movie is so underappreciated, and there are some great connections to the broader scope of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because Marvel were expecting the Hulk movie to be much bigger than Iron Man, because Hulk had the previous film, he had the TV series, whereas Iron Man was more of the wild card. That's why The Incredible Hulk has so many ties, like the Robert Downey Jr. cameo at the end, the leader tease that never fully paid off. There's a deleted scene where Captain America is in the ice. There's all this stuff. Whereas Iron Man is much more self-contained because they thought that Hulk would be the bigger movie that would lead to the MCU. But I just think it's such an underappreciated film. That chase in Rio through the streets.
That is good. That is good. See, with me, The Incredible Hulk, it's just that I really do enjoy the movie, but I think the movie is really, it's really slow in a lot of its speeds.
Yes, it is. I'm sorry, Trilbee, but you are absolutely unbelievably wrong. You've said some pretty silly things before, but that pretty much takes the cake.
Oh, you haven't heard the silly
Incredible
things
Hulk is the worst piece of garbage ever to be excreted from a certain area of the MCU that no one even wants to think about anymore. That
Iron Man
so
4?
bad.
Anyone?
So bad.
Iron
it's
Man
the
4?
only Marvel film that has been basically retconned and wiped from history because that's how god-awful it was. The entire movie is him going to New York to get a blood test. That's it. That's absolutely sucks.
That's just the climax.
It really does.
But to be fair, it's not been retconned because in the Avengers they do mention it.
You're not gonna win. Don't even try. You're not gonna win.
Didn't you love the bit where he's like, "I'm gonna kill the Abomination," but then he makes the decision. You know what? No, I'm not gonna be a monster. I'm not gonna kill the Abomination, and then he just walks away, leaving them presumably only seconds until the Abomination wakes up and then slaughters everyone in the city. Good job, Hulk, but MCU doing what it does, it cuts away and shields us from any of the reality. Good job, guys. It's awful.
No,
that movie is just...
It's MCU canon that Abomination is locked up somewhere.
All of the actors are terrible, including Edward Norton.
No, Tim Roth is awesome.
Him to perform badly.
You've got to admit that Tim Roth is at least fun.
No, I don't.
Fun doesn't equal quality. Sorry.
Sorry, I hate...
Trey, I thought you were on my side.
I am on your side, but I don't want people using fun as in their argument.
Okay, Bandit, right.
Yeah.
If you don't like the movie, absolutely fine, but would you really rate it incredibly low?
Oh, yeah.
Like, as in, like, would you, like, is it a 1-star film, or, like... Because it's when people said, oh, the first Hobbit movie, the worst movie of the year. Bear in mind, the first Hobbit movie came out the same year as the last Twilight. Have perspective.
Yes.
With that perspective,
I think...
is it that bad?
Yes, because I'd say if you took all the parts of Green Lantern that people don't like, and then you took all the parts of Iron Man 2 that people don't like, and then you took all the parts of Man of Steel that they actually did right, and reversed them and put them all together, you would get the Incredible Hulk.
What does that even mean?
Trey, are you musically talented? Yes. Could you play the sad walking away theme while I leave this podcast?
I was going to play the Prince of Casimir.
Okay, well, Bandit doesn't like it, but that is why the Incredible Hulk is underrated. It's underrated by Bandit.
Okay, I honestly, to reply to what you were saying, Trilbee, I think Thor's the best solo movie of Phase 1. I really do enjoy the Incredible Hulk, but I think it does get slow in certain moments. Like the opening action or the action scene and the chase in Brazil is great, but then it really is kind of just a lot of meandering around. I don't think Liv Tyler's that engaging as Betty Ross.
No, I think Jennifer Connelly was actually better in Ang Lee's.
I love William Hurt as Ross
coming back in Civil War.
Yeah, I'm excited for that, and I love the fight at the school when he takes out the tanks. He jumps out,
so good,
really good. But after that, it slows down again. Mm-hmm. I think Tim Blake Nelson is horribly miscast as whatever it is he was supposed to.
Oh
be.
Yeah.
But
he's out of place.
Yeah.
He looks like
Isn't it interesting that none of the cast from the other movie actually wanted to show up again? It's almost like they could smell the stink on it.
Well, no, that's because Edward Norton was a nightmare on set, according to what I've heard. You know, apparently his persona in Birdman is very accurate to how he actually is on set. I'm being completely serious.
But look,
listeners, I do encourage.
Like, obviously, no offense or anything, but like when I say that if you took all the worst parts of like Green Lantern, all the worst parts of Iron Man 2, you'd find them all in The Incredible Hulk. I do mean literally, like if you did the same thing with like Force Awakens and A New Hope, if you literally wrote down all the things in Green Lantern that people don't like, same thing.
I wouldn't go that far.
People don't like the villain in Green Lantern who has the weird big pulsy head. What happens to that weird guy at the end? He gets a weird big pulsy head. People don't like Iron Man 2 that
that's
has
a
him
stretch.
Just wandering around and just doing stuff for so long. And what does Bruce Banner do for the majority of that movie? He wanders around and just does stuff.
He's
it's a collection of all the worst parts of everything. It's terrible.
Bandit, look at me. But does it have a good ending?
I can't.
It has a great
visual
ending.
on the Skype.
Sorry. I feel like you're in the room with me. Bandit doesn't have I love the ending though. Doesn't it have a great ending? I love that ending.
No, it has a terrible ending because
31 days since last.
It basically
incident.
sets up the same conflict between Superman and Zod and Man of Steel. In this, between Hulk and the Abomination, although it completely misses the point
of everything.
No. I'm talking about
it.
the last like minute and a half of the movie where he's back in the hiding and his eyes turn green and he smiles. I love that ending. I think that's a really cool shot, like straight out of the comics. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Ben hates this movie so much.
Okay, wait, Bandit, let me ask you. Out there, who agrees with me? I know you're out there.
Bandit, let me ask you. This came out the same year as Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Ooh. Is that better than the Incredible Hulk?
Like I said, it's all about perspective.
Silence.
Well, see what you're doing here is you're like, okay, I've got a glass that's full of poison here. I got a glass that's half full of poison here, and I got a glass here with just a few drops of poison. Which one do you want to drink? None, because they're poison. Okay?
I understand. I understand if you don't like it, but to have such a venomous reaction to it, I don't see it.
Trilbee, you can't deny it's the only movie that the MCU has basically erased.
Yeah,
that says something.
That's why Ross is in Civil War.
Iron Man 4
he's the only one, but we had to have a break of how many movies until they finally felt
Avengers references
back in that.
Avengers references the Harlem fight with Abomination. There's a short film with Agent Coulson where they mention Abomination maybe becoming a member of the Avengers before Tony Stark has to talk Ross out of it, which is why he's at the end of the credits. If you don't like it, fair enough, but to have such a hateful reaction, I don't get it.
They only, that's right, they do make some very, very, very vague references to it.
Oh,
because they dare not do anything more than dip their toe into that toxic waste that was the Incredible Hulk.
Guys,
yeah.
What was the last time they mentioned Iron Man 4 in any of the MCU stuff whatsoever?
That's not even a movie yet. Iron Man 4. Do you mean Iron Man 3?
I call Iron Man 3 Iron Man 4 because, in my opinion, the Avengers, which is Iron Man 3, featuring the Hulk starring Loki. So when was the last time they mentioned Iron Man 4?
That's true. Not until Iron Man 3 was any movie basically just forgotten about. But granted, we haven't gone far enough from Iron Man 3 to see whether they'll come back to that or not. We don't know yet.
They won't.
But listeners...
Look at Age of Ultron. They won't.
But listeners, I do implore you to listen to the Flower theme from the Incredible Hulk soundtrack, as well as Hulk Smash, and there's, I think it's Credits theme. I forget what it's called, but it's such an awesome theme. Because it's got a great soundtrack. Just listen to that, even if you don't like the film, you'll love the soundtrack.
Sure. Sorry, Trilbee, I feel bad having to go at you.
Yeah, it's okay, but I hate you a lot.
When mom and dad are fighting. May I say so? That's what this felt like. I felt like mom and dad were just fighting. It was wonderful. It was so much fun to listen to.
I get that you don't like it, but to be that hateful towards it, I just don't find it that objectionable in it.
That movie basically killed any hope of getting another solo Hulk movie for, what has it been, almost 8 years or something?
8 years.
That's how bad that movie was. It seriously hurt. It hurt Hulk, it hurt the MCU, and they just want to kind of forget
sad.
Yeah, Hulk sad.
Okay, are we doing any more questions? Or?
Yeah, I got another question here.
I do have one here. Actually, sorry, you go first, Tom.
Oh, if it's on Twitter, then we'll alternate. So
you don't get to talk anymore, Bandit.
I was going to pick the Leonardo DiCaprio one.
Okay, here. Okay, let me.
This one doesn't require thinking, so you go first, then I'll go after that one.
Okay, so Spike Litherland, a great name, he asks, if you could erase any movie from the last 15 years from your memory, what would it be?
I think Bandit picks The Incredible Hulk.
Terminator Genesis. No. I have two answers, if I may go first. One's good and one's bad. One is Star Wars The Force Awakens, because I would love to sit there and watch it from the beginning again without knowing anything that's going to happen. I'd be so pleased. I'd have such a great time. And Tusk.
One of these things is not like the other. One of these things just doesn't belong.
I almost swore. I flippin' hate Tusk with a passion of 1,000 suns. I cannot stand that movie.
I think Johnny Depp was Oscar snubbed.
I can go
straight to heck.
Like for Black Mass, or
no, for Tusk.
You can go suck a never. Excuse me. Sorry. I'm not.
I can do unspeakable things to a pig.
Thank you. Really, you like the you
I'm joking. I'm just pressing your Tusk button.
Thank you. Tusk is one of those movies, and I talked about it before plentiful times. It's honestly the worst one I've ever seen. I cannot.
It's a terrible movie, but I kind of respect the audacity of it.
Yeah,
I don't.
Well,
it's a man literally jerking himself off the entire movie.
Okay, respect is the wrong word.
No, thank you. No.
Well, Trey, I'm sure you'll be looking forward to Kevin Smith's next movie, which is Moose Jaws. And I'm not making that up. It actually is Jaws,
I know.
but with a moose.
I know.
I'm sure you're really looking forward to that.
No, I'm not.
He's setting up like a Tusk cinematic universe thing.
It's so gross. Oh, stop it. It's crazy that people feel like the way I feel about Tusk, people feel about Man of Steel. That's insane to me. I don't understand it. Like, I don't get it. Do you have any more questions on their Bandit?
Yeah, this one says, how do you guys feel about Leonardo DiCaprio being a hypocrite? And it has the photograph of like Leo in The Wolf of Wall Street when he's on the yacht laughing. And the text says, I docked my giant yacht, I drove my SUV to the airport, and I flew my private jet here to tell you to cut down on carbon emissions.
Yeah.
That's Hollywood in a picture, isn't it?
More or less, yeah.
It's like, yes, he is a hypocrite.
It's nice that he's bringing attention to it. I don't know why The Revenant has anything to do with those particular themes he had in that speech, because Revenant's not really about anything except bear loving.
No,
but
it's only a loose connection, because he's like, well, we had to travel really far north to find snow, so there's global warming, which I guess is true, but kind of a rocky connection to make.
Are you guys bullying Leonardo DiCaprio?
I just think that Mad Max Fury Road had more to say about carbon emissions than The Revenant did.
Yes, there you go. It's all about conserving fuel, that movie.
Conserving gasoline.
Yeah.
Gasoline. That's our fuel.
Gasoline. Yeah, okay.
Hand me some Aqua-Cola.
But yeah, it's hard to ignore the hypocrisy there.
I respect Leonardo. Maybe it was this movie that inspired him to look more on the environment, whatever. I think it was a good speech. All right, calm down. It's not like when Matthew McConaughey won his Oscar and said, "My hero is me in 10 years." Like, I know that's the best Oscar speech probably ever.
Hey, at least he's being honest, right?
I loved it. He's like, my hero is me in 10 years. I love that.
Guys, I think we're approaching the 3-hour mark.
Yeah, we're about to hit 3 hours. So,
you know that Trilbee's arrived.
Yeah, that's right. So
okay.
Should we maybe take one more question and then we'll save the rest and we'll cover these in the next episode? You want to do that?
Okay. Let me just find one last good one here.
Trilbee, have you picked a question yet? Do you want to pick one?
I didn't know I was supposed to.
I have one. I have one.
No,
if you guys don't
okay.
mind. Okay. Alex Zepps asks, what movie-related podcast do you listen to?
Well,
I don't know about you folks, but I listen to the great folks over at Film Brits.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Movie Mania is really a great one.
Especially
it only
the
works because I'm
episode.
referencing a different
really
podcast.
Good one.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that their Deadpool Movie Mania episode. I love when they talk about The Force Awakens and how they only crapped on it for an hour and 45 minutes. It was very well put together. That Sherman White guy is really talented. He really does some great stuff. Bandit Incorporated's okay, though. Yeah. No, in all honesty,
he's a real gangster pumpkin.
Look, I've got, apart from Mr. Sunday Movies, the Weekly Planet podcast, I also listen to Movie Manians, which is Sans Pants Radio. They're also an Aussie podcast. I was actually on that. Okay. I flew down to a certain city, which I better not name, and got to meet Mr. Sunday Movies in person, and we did a couple of episodes together, which were great. So I listened to that. I listened to Film Brits. I also listened to Solar Monster Sounds Off. That's the WWE one. History of World War II.
I'm just going through my phone to see who I'm subscribed to.
Hollywood Babylon. There we go. Hollywood Babylon.
Oh, I used to listen to Hollywood Babylon before I got tired of it, so I stopped listening to it.
Yeah,
I stopped listening to a lot of Kevin. I stopped listening to a lot of Kevin Smith stuff after a while for obvious reasons.
Because he made Tusk.
Yeah, exactly. And I love how he acknowledges that. He's just like, Kevin Smith made Tusk. I'm like, yeah, you did. Just because you say it doesn't mean it didn't happen. You definitely still made Tusk. I listened to Collider, AMC Movie Talk.
Yes, Collider Movie Talk.
Those guys, I've been with those guys for like 2-3 years now. I've been listening to the Schmoes probably for like 5 or 6 years. I'm not sure how long they've had a podcast for, but I've been following those guys for a while.
You love the
Screen Junkies. Those guys are. I really want to. I've met them on the phone once when I called in and spoke to Mark Hamill.
What?
Have I told you that story? I did say Mark Hamill. Have I told you this story yet?
No. What?
Go on.
Okay. All right. Well, let me tell it. Okay. All right. So the Schmoes had him on for Kingsman back in like February of last year. And I called in. I was on my bus going on a field trip, and I called in, and I thought, oh, they're not going to answer. And so and then I hear, hey, you're Schmo, but who do we got? I'm just like, hello, is this the Schmo Stuff podcast? They're like, yep, who it is? And I hear Mark Hamill's voice. I'm just like, oh my god, Mr. Hamill, oh Mr.
Have my babies. Have my forced children. We'll have a Ray child together, and she'll be a Mary Sue.
Okay. And I was like, and he's just like, Mark Hamill's like, hey, do you have a question for me? And he's just like, I was like,
marry me.
I was like, what is it? What was it like the difference between working with JJ and George Lucas? And then he said, well, all I can really say is faster and more intense. And I said, thank you very much, Mr. Hamill. And I hung up.
Oh, you know that sketch where Harrison Ford is being interviewed on a chat show and he can't answer any Star Wars questions, and the guests are like dressed up as Princess Leia. And he's like, do you like making movies? Are you hungry? That's what I imagine you being like.
That was the plan, and that was when I met Mark Hamill. That was one time I met Mark Hamill.
But the podcast, I listen to the Empire podcast, which is a UK film magazine, but they have a lot of big scoops. Like they've got that awesome Civil War poster cover, which replicates the comic book panel where Captain America's got a shield up and Iron Man's blasting it at point blank. Yeah. They do some great work. I also listen to Kermode and Mayo, which they do. They're on BBC Radio 5, and they're like the Siskel and Ebert of England.
I love
they're really great.
I watch Kermode's YouTube channel. He's really great. Yeah.
I've met Kermode. Actually, not on the phone, but in person.
Really?
I was in London.
Stepped up my game. All right.
I was in London. I was my girlfriend was at a makeup effects course, and I was just walking around a town shopping centre, and I was just waiting nearby and near a cinema, and then he walks past. I'm like, oh my god, it's Mark Kermode, and I happen to have on my person a copy of one of his books and a pen, and I got him to autograph it.
Nice.
Now I need to ask you something. This is a very, very important question. So, since this was just in normal, regular life, did his hair look as impressive as it does when he's at an event?
Well,
Did it have that vertical sweep like the Ace Ventura style that he has?
I met him on a Friday morning because he went to an early screening of something that didn't get screened for critics, so he had to watch it that morning and then go and record it. So he was in full black suit and with his swished back grey hair.
That's Kermode. He's just always at his classiest best.
And the other podcast I listen to is the Q&A with Jeff Goldsmith. Jeff Goldsmith is like a guy who works in Hollywood in the industry, and he interviews screenwriters. He does some great hour-long interviews with some really great writers. Like the latest one is where he interviews Sean McCauley, who wrote Eddie the Eagle, and he just gets some really great guests for hour-long interviews. And if you're interested in screenwriting or in the business, listen to the Q&A with Jeff Goldsmith.
Man. Okay. To finish off here, I also listen to James Bonding, recommended to me by the Weekly Planet.
That sounds like pornographic material.
Oh, Jesus Christ. James Bonding, it's a podcast with two guys talk about James Bond. They go over and they kind of do a commentary for each of the movies. And it's really good. They're obviously biased, so if it's usually a bad one, they'll be like, I kind of like this one, but I still really enjoy it. But it's still really good. And of course, movie fights, Screen Junkies. I love.
I'm not a fan of movie fights. I love the Screen Junkies stuff, but when it comes to movie fights, they're obviously trying to come up with an argument to support their point, but they blindly follow it and they never consider any other viewpoints. So I just think that it prevents honest discussion. I love the guys at Screen Junkies.
I like movie fights because it's done in the format of a proper debate, which is. It's not based off who's right. It's based off who has the better argument, which is better. Yeah. Because a lot of people in the comment section don't understand that. They're like, "But this movie's better than that." And it's like, yeah, but you have to base it off arguments. Otherwise, it's just a game of chance. Yeah. If you happen to get a popular movie, you win.
Yeah, like Jackass the movie beat Superman the movie 1 just because the argument was better, which is amazing.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Oh.
testament to the
except...
argument skills of whoever won that. Like, that's
exactly.
a good win.
I think
like, they're great guys. It just doesn't do anything for me personally.
Yeah. It's okay. Actually, I mean,
don't kill me.
I love the podcast.
Force Awakens was pretty good, but
except for Trey, do you watch it on YouTube or do you listen on iTunes? Because I can't find them on iTunes anymore.
They got a new one a while back. Okay. So
is it a different name? Because I can't find it.
No, it's still Movie Fights. You just have to look for the most recent one. I think I love the podcast, except when Andy Signora's who's usually the host, except when he's playing, because there's not a more annoying person trying to sit there and watch him debate. Because the worst part about Movie Fights is that when one person will never let anyone finish talking, I
don't think that's true. Sorry, I just had.
Which is a lot what happens here, but
sorry to interrupt. Trey, please continue.
It's like
I promise I won't interrupt again.
You dick! All right, guys, thank you all for watching. We're gonna close it here. We're gonna cut it off. Okay. So a wonderful podcast.
See, I think what you need to do just beat that dead horse.
You know what?
Break its neck.
Get out of here, guys.
Break its neck. Kill it, start in a tornado.
You guys done?
Yep.
All right.
Oh,
I was
thank you
meant
guys
to be a podcaster.
And tail its truck on a couple of logs. There we go. That's the last one.
Oh my god. This is wonderful. Shelby's gotten a full delusion.
Where do you podcast? On a farm?
I basically do, yeah.
Oh my god. Oh, the tears.
Poor Trey.
Okay.
He's trying to finish. Please continue.
I have to pee.
Trey.
I really have to pee. Thank you guys all for watching. Like and subscribe. Follow us on the social media sites. Bandit, where can the people find you?
The people can find me on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter as Bandit Incorporated. And they can
Shelby,
find
where
you.
can people find
You can currently find me rolling on the floor laughing. And on my website, www.trilbee.com, on my YouTube channel, Trilbee Reviews, Twitter, Trilbee Reviews, Facebook, Mr. TARDIS Reviews. Thank you so much for having me.
And you can find me on all Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff at either Sherman White or Trey White or Podcast Media. Thank you guys for this talk on Man of Steel and other things. Join us next week when we talk ambiguous endings?
Movie endings, yeah.
Yeah, ambiguous movie endings, along with maybe talking about some Walking Dead, because that's next week. Thank you all for watching our Movie Maniacs. Oh, special link to Milan Jeftic for the channel art. Goodbye.
Oh, actually, I do have one last thing to say.
I will find him!
No, seriously.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, because now that we've got Trilbee on board, I was thinking we're going to need to redesign the thumbnail. We're going to have Trilbee.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So I was going to ask...
be in the explosion in the background?
Yeah, we'll just... I don't know. That's
I
what
caused
I
the
thought,
explosion.
I was thinking maybe our listeners could send in ideas, because I thought it'd be cool if, I wanted us running away from the explosion because it's like a movie poster. So if our listeners have got ideas for what kind of thumbnail we could have for the three of us, that's maybe like a Charlie's Angels thing.
The best one gets put,
Or a Drew Struzan type thing.
What'd you say?
Drew Struzan type poster.
Yeah, exactly. And the best one will be put on as the official thumbnail. So get to work, fans. No, I'm kidding. Whatever you guys want to do it. If not, I'll Photoshop something later.
We'll pay you in virtual cookies.
Yeah, virtual cookies. All right. I think I close this off. All right, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.